Chapter 541. Thinking of Xing Yu and the others who were injured, he quickly said, "Let's go down and take a look." Temple's 15 saints were completely wiped out. The 4 gold-rank armies of the Honorable Martial Alliance, 2 were wiped out, 1 was defeated and 1 was heavily injured. But now that the Ursa Major constellation had opened up the treasure city, they had already officially stepped into the ranks of the top aristocratic families. Exclamations of shock could be heard, one after another. Meng Ta and the rest were saints after all, and were more knowledgeable than ordinary martial artists. Among them, there were many who had been to the 12 ecliptic palaces and seen those treasure cities. That also meant the amount of energy a saint possessed was limited, and when the spirit domain continued to grow stronger, it would become the saint's shackles. They realized their true power was not enough to support the squandering of spirit techniques. Tang Tian's body went limp. His feet were in the air and his body fell down. No one doubted Ursa Major Constellation's position as the new powerhouse, and there were already people calling Ursa Major Constellation the 13th Ecliptic Palace. Previously, although the Ursa Major Constellation was hailed as a tyrant by everyone, but compared to a true tyrant of the Ecliptic Palaces, there was still a huge gap. The entire Heavens Road was shocked by the might of Ursa Major Constellation. Everyone was dumbfounded. They dared to guarantee that in their entire lives, there had never been a battle that was as deeply imprinted in their minds as the one just now. And the effect of glimmer was similar to that of a soul furnace. This was the true reason why it could become the #1 bronze spirit technique of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Just that, it was unable to completely convert the true power into new energy like the spirit furnace, but to burn the true power in a special way, thus increasing the power of the true power. Meng Ta and the rest were shocked, thinking that it was the enemy's last attack. The blue light that was as fast as lightning drew a beautiful arc in the air and once again brought Tang Tian back to them. Suddenly someone shouted, "Look over there." Suddenly Tang Tian sensed an unusual fluctuation of astral power. He looked up abruptly. Such a powerful combat power had already exceeded the limits of their imagination. In their eyes, Tang Tian was already in existence akin to a god of war. Everyone descended to the ground. At this moment the sky rumbled and countless streams of light flashed across the sky like lightning. Everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. No one had ever seen such a phenomenon before. Fourth glimmer. To be able to become the Honorable Martial Alliance's strongest bronze spirit technique, it naturally had its own unique points. Any saint, the true power contained in his body was limited. The growth of the spirit domain was just to accommodate laws, and regardless of what laws it was, they all used true power, which was also energy. The silver-lined heavy shield with its astonishing defensive power was the best weapon in Tang Tian's hands. It was powerful and heavy like a large fly swatter. After subduing Big Dipper swallowing Sexton's constellation, Ursa Major Constellation opened the treasure city. Thousand Hands Devil Monarch's last wish. The stone penetrated Yaya's body like jelly. Xing Yu and the rest had long been caught by the Lightblade army below, although they were injured and unconscious, but their lives were not in danger. This made Tang Tian heave a sigh of relief. After returning with Ding Man around, there would definitely be no problems. This is my battle. The fist-sized straight pipe led deep into the ground. Tang Tian, whose bloodline had been completely awakened, had become extremely terrifying. The blood in his body continued to flow into the blood furnace, evolving inside the blood furnace, and then flowed into every other part of his body. The zero-energy body that was initially thought to be unable to improve, continued to evolve. Just that on Yaya's back, there was an additional pair of blue light wings, and on its forehead, a pile of blue stones was revealed. The stones that entered Yaya's body suddenly produced a powerful suction force, causing the glimmer that was wreaking havoc in Yaya's body to be continuously absorbed by the stones. Gradually, the blue light aura from the stones became brighter, and the blue light aura started to permeate into Yaya's body. Holding onto the silver-lined heavy shield, he appeared like a ghost behind the temple saints who were escaping in panic. The silver-lined heavy shield carried a terrifying power, causing the energy barriers to shatter like fragile glass. Tang Tian's eyes were red, he gasped for breath with all his might, the veins on his neck were popping out as far as his eyes could see, all the high and mighty enemies had all fallen to his feet. The flames in his chest became even more intense, causing his entire body to be boiling hot. Countless light auras surged out, forming an extremely congealed gigantic light barrier, protecting the entire ancient cold city. Tang Tian knew that meant that Big Dipper's battle had ended. The figures in the sky continued to fall, smashing into the ground like cannonballs. Oh my god, ancient cold city has become a treasure city. Yeah. And the impressive battle results against the honorable martial alliance had caused the entire Heaven's Road to be speechless. Even in the 12 ecliptic palaces, other than Leo constellation, no other constellation dared to say that they would have such a glorious battle result against the honorable martial alliance. Glimmer could be used on any type of martial technique or spirit technique, and that was one of its strong points. Regardless of whether it was Yi Zhaoji's sword technique or Su Yi's blade technique, every move they made was extremely powerful. The true power that was combusted would form a light needle effect, and its destructive power towards the spirit and body was even more astonishing. Everyone immediately looked over in the distant ancient cold city. A dazzling light aura shone down and entered ancient cold city. In the blink of an eye, there were no more saints from the temple floating in the sky, only Tang Tian holding onto the silver-lined heavy shield, gasping for breath. His eyes were red, his neck straightened, and he looked around fiercely. Tang Tian, who was unable to control himself, raised his sinister face. Facing the sky, he roared out in anger. The glimmer in Yaya's body surged endlessly. Suddenly, the stone embedded in Yaya's but lit up with a faint blue light aura. The light aura that lit up was like a needle. It was glimmer, and it was destroying Yaya's body. Yaya had not understood the situation, but with the addition of the flashy blue light wings, Yaya was extremely happy. It proudly flew back in front of everyone, its little head looking around trying to find Little Fool's figure. Such a flashy thing, of course he had to let Little Fool admire it. Under the silver-lined heavy shield, the shattered auras rained down. Just at that moment, Bell brought him the latest battle report. Bing led the mechanical army across half of Ursa Major constellation, suddenly appearing behind the Raging Inferno army. The Raging Inferno army had launched a surprise attack, and heavily injured the Raging Inferno army. Ursa Major constellation, who had opened the treasure city, had become even harder to attack, unless they invested more saints. And that meant that the Honorable Martial Alliance needed to fight against 2 ecliptic palaces grade constellations, and Temple would definitely not agree to it. Bang bang bang. Although they had already relied on Ursa Major constellation, but they did not expect that Ursa Major constellation's strength was actually so strong. Following the saints' deeper understanding of energy, they realized that under a few specific laws, through collisions and annihilation, energy would produce a new type of energy, and the strength of this new type of energy would increase exponentially. That was the fundamental difference between Silver Saints and Bronze Saints, and that was the spirit furnace that only Silver Saints had. The true power in a Silver Saint's body would surge into the spirit furnace, transforming into new energy inside the spirit furnace, and would be able to erupt with power that was multiplied exponentially. Yisho Xen Mo Lei and the rest of the Light Blade army were completely stunned by the battle in the sky, and looked at Tang Tian with eyes filled with deep reverence. Other than the few who died under the spirit-devouring flame, the rest had all died under the hands of Tang Tian's people, including the famous Su Yi. The battle on the ground had already become one-sided. The huge battlefield was dead silent, and only Tang Tian's panting could be heard. Even the Honorable Martial Alliance had stopped all operations against Ursa Major constellation. There were still a few days left until the agreed time with Chia, and Tang Tian was prepared to settle another matter. The other benefit of opening the treasure city was that it would be more convenient to travel between cities. Tang Tian could open star doors between cities, but it would consume star power. Compared to the convenience of the star doors, the consumption of star power was something that Tang Tian did not care about. The star doors between the various treasure cities caused the market of Ursa Major constellation to become extremely prosperous. Everyone's face was filled with joy. Only the 12 ecliptic palaces had the qualifications to form treasure cities, and that required the concentration of star power to exceed a certain threshold. Treasure cities were viewed as the foundation of top-notch tyrants, because treasure cities had outstanding defensive capabilities, and every treasure city was like a node, where they used the star power of the entire constellation. For example, some of the star power in uninhabited regions could be extracted and concentrated in the various treasure cities, thus allowing the star power of the treasure cities to become even denser and more beneficial to the training of martial artists. Temple saints were not blood meridian saints, although their bodies were much stronger than ordinary martial artists, but in the face of such astonishing power, they were unable to resist at all. It was actually Yaya. Yaya, who was in dreamland, was smacking his lips, as though he was eating something delicious, his chubby face revealing a look of satisfaction. The quietly sleeping Yaya suddenly released two thin blue auras on his back. Following that, the two blue auras revealed two small meat sprouts, and the small meat sprouts grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. The underground world was quiet and peaceful. Just at that moment, an extremely fast blue light suddenly shot out from the ground like lightning, bringing along Tang Tian and flying high into the sky. It was as though something inside the ancient cold city was responding, rumbling and trembling. The tall ice walls were melting at a speed visible to the naked eye, and a dazzling halo enveloped the entire ancient cold city. This is my victory. The blood in Tang Tian's eyes gradually receded. Returning back to normal, he also retreated from the battle, thinking about how dangerous it was. He almost lost face. With his current body, he would definitely not die if he fell from the sky and could even smash a large hole in the ground, but that would be a huge embarrassment. Tang Tian's speed became faster and faster, and his power became even more terrifying. The young man's blazing fighting intent and lofty sentiments, the young man's steel-like willpower and determination, all followed the angry roar and surged endlessly in the clouds. A small body curled up into a ball. Yaya's body flickered as though it was breathing. Yaya's small body was like a glowing meatball. The small flag on its back was broken. Little Fool, who was sleeping inside the energy furnace, suddenly revealed an undetectable smile. New aristocratic family. The treasure city's energy barrier could mobilize a corresponding amount of star power, and its defense was much stronger than the energy barrier constructed by ordinary cities. Treasure City. Chapter 542. Sword Domain. Jilly's face changed. Why are they involved as well? Mingyu looked at the treasure city in front of her and was in a daze. Although she knew that Ursa Major Constellation had opened the treasure city, but when she truly entered Ursa Major Constellation and saw the city protected by the star power barrier, she was still in a daze. Regardless of where she went, she was the focus of attention and countless people were infatuated with her. After solving this doubt, there were even more doubts. Ever since he was young, his mother had never divulged such information, but Tang Tian immediately laughed bitterly. Maybe there was, but he did not care about it. On the contrary, the Southern Cross bronze plate was definitely not a coincidence. That asshole had entrusted Screw to Tsang Yongyu, and the bronze plate had been hanging on his neck since young. That meant that the asshole had a deep relationship with the Southern Cross Army. Jilly did not object. She was extremely beautiful and alluring, and was doted on by thousands of people. She was also intelligent and naturally had high standards, so how could ordinary men enter her eyes? Gemini Constellation. Ling Su's face revealed a tinge of red, but very quickly he became angry. What are you looking at? Do you want to fight? Victory was not easy to come by. Everyone fought with all their might, and only then did they have the current Ursa Major Constellation. Tell me about it. The lady revealed an interested expression. Crane and Ling Su had returned long ago. Just that. Tang Tian's gaze swept across the young lady beside Ling Su, and his gaze kept on sweeping across Ling Su's face. Are you talking about Xie Shangguan? Jilly smiled, brimming with confidence. Didn't she disappear long ago? I can't even fight against a woman who has already disappeared. You are underestimating me too much. Ursa Major Constellation will only become stronger. Seeing the flow of people, Andre could not help but sigh. I came to Ursa Major Constellation in the past. I guess Yen Yonglai never thought that Ursa Major Constellation would one day become so prosperous. All the men in the carriage were attracted to the two of them. Mingyu sighed in her heart. She had seen Tang Tian before in Andromeda Constellation, and in truth she did not think highly of Tang Tian, but the cold martial artist who carried Angelina and escaped from the water had left a deeper impression on her. Ursa Major Constellation. Tang Tian remained silent. Bing saw that Tang Tian's expression was not good and immediately changed the topic. How's Little Fool? Where's your Gemini furnace? Bing looked at Tang Tian. What if he dies? Who else? Jilly's expression returned to normal as she raised her eyebrows. Tell us all at once. They attracted a lot of attention in the carriage. Both of them were extremely beautiful. Mingyu was like an iceberg beauty while Yuji was a natural seductive beauty. Her every frown and smile were soft and charming. Her appearance was pure and sweet, making it hard for people to take their eyes off her. Uncle Bing put down the report in his hands and shook his head. It only says that Gemini constellation suddenly closed 20 years ago, but did not say the reason. At that time Heaven's Road was shocked. It was very rare for an ecliptic palace constellation to close. The reason for closing Gemini constellation was not known at the moment, but from the sexton's eye and the Southern Cross bronze plate, it was his arrangements. This meant that this matter must be very dangerous, so dangerous that he didn't know if he could survive. And Song Yongyu said that he was injured at that time, and even though he was injured he still insisted on doing it. That means he had no choice but to do it. Yuji nodded and said gently, "All right." She did not expect that Tang Tian, whom she did not look favorably upon, would become a hegemon, and the cold and ruthless man with superb sword techniques would disappear without a trace. Since young she had believed that she could conquer any man. After accomplishing this wish, Tang Tian returned to Bear Head City. We are not the only ones who can see Tang Tian's potential. Andre waved his hand helplessly. Wrong, it's his ability. Ursa Major constellation already has the qualifications to become the 13th ecliptic palace constellation. This new powerhouse has always been the favorite of Sword Domain. And your competition is not only limited to Sword Domain. Tang Tian could not help but reveal a bright smile. To be able to fight with everyone, he was truly happy. Wei Wei and spoke out from the side. Wei Wei Hui is my brother, and also the new patriarch of Ursa Major constellation. Si Jelly raised her eyebrows, her face brimming with confidence. She said proudly, "In the end he will only belong to me." I never thought that little brother would have such a high evaluation of him. The lady smiled sweetly. Ursa Major constellation had entered a period of stability. After the opening of the Treasure City, every day, there would be many martial artists coming to seek refuge, even saints. Every city required a city lord to oversee it. The city lord could mobilize star power to a certain extent, thus the position became extremely popular, and to all the powerful martial artists, it was extremely attractive. How can he be compared to father? The lady flattened her mouth, disapproving. Two martial artists intentionally talked loudly in front of Mingyu and Yuji, hoping to attract their attention. Big sister Mingyu, have you been to Ursa Major constellation before? A gentle voice called her back to reality. Tang Tian coughed lightly. Good, everyone will be a family from now on. The flow of people flowed in and out. The market was flourishing. A large number of powerful martial artists surged towards Ursa Major constellation like a tide. And it was after his death. A beautiful lady beside him giggled, and in the hands of his enemies. She had traveled to Ursa Major constellation before, and the scene in front of her was much more prosperous. Andre said solemnly, "See Jelly, don't look down on him. The current Ursa Major constellation has already surpassed any period in Ursa Major constellation's history. Regardless of whether you look up to it or not, you have to admit, the current Ursa Major constellation is already one of the top-grade unorthodox sects in Heaven's Road." Mingyu sighed in her heart. Ursa Major constellation's opening of the Treasure City, all the powerful martial artists would be attracted like a tide. Every city lord of a treasure city was able to mobilize a certain range of star power. To martial artists, it was an irresistible temptation. Even many saints were unable to resist it. That was also why the 12 ecliptic palaces were able to last for so long. As long as the treasure city existed, there would be no lack of experts. She truly had the qualifications to be proud. Her long golden hair was like golden waves. She had milky white and exquisite skin, her blue eyes that were as deep and enchanting as the sea. Her figure was much taller than most women, her ample breasts, her waist and abdomen without any excess flesh, her long and slender legs, outlining her perfect figure. Andre could not help but smile. Tang Tian, this person is truly extraordinary. Scarlet still wanted to say something, but Andre looked at her deeply. If Ursa Major constellation did not have such strength, why would we have this trip? But I have to remind you. Andre looked at Scarlet and said, "You have to be careful of your competitors. Brother Yang, no matter what, you have to obtain a city lord position. At that time, don't forget to take care of this little brother." Lion King Leong hoped to ally with Ursa Major constellation. Both parties were enemies with the Honorable Martial Alliance, and could be said to be natural allies. But Leong hoped for both parties to be even stronger, and the ancient method of alliance through marriage was undoubtedly the most effective method. And for Tang Tian to be able to establish such an astonishing foundation at such a young age, and change the structure of Heaven's Road, to be able to marry such a powerful martial artist, was a rather good thing. With the help of the Tsongyang fighting grounds, Tang Tian quickly found the Feng family that Senior Thousand Hands Devil Lord had mentioned. Feng Yena had passed away for many years, and Tang Tian followed Senior Thousand Hands Devil Lord's instructions, and imparted the thousand-cleaved demonic hand to this family. Brotherly, you are too modest. Ursa Major constellation itself does not have any strong martial artists. With our standards, the city lord position is a sure thing. That asshole was actually from Gemini constellation. These matters were not what Tang Tian was good at, so Tang Tian naturally threw it to Hand Towel and Pai Pa, while he was waiting for Chia to digest his gains. There is a high possibility that he is already dead. Bing said calmly. He made so many arrangements, that is enough to show that he knows that his chances of winning are very small. After so many years, the possibility of him being alive is already very small. Tang Tian waved his hands and laughed. Ling Su is very capable. Andre was very familiar with the situation. This time, Ursa Major Constellation's mechanical army consecutively defeated 2 gold rank armies. Libra Constellation is not blind, they have also sent people out. Because of Psi Lei, Taurus Constellation and Pisces Constellation, their relationship is bad and they are here to repair it. Other than that, Aquarius Constellation, Pisces Constellation and Cancer Constellation have also sent people. I reckon that the other constellations will not sit idly by. In truth, it has been a long time since there was such a popular man. The competition is very intense. The 12 ecliptic palaces were already filled, and the newly emerged Ursa Major constellation had an unparalleled attraction. I will clarify everything. Tang Tian's face turned black as he interrupted Bing's words. Si Jili was silent. Before she left, she already knew of her mission. Mingyu looked at Yuji's gentle face and nodded. I have traveled before. Ursa Major constellation's sudden rise had caught everyone unprepared, including Sword Domain. Andre laughed bitterly. Of course, Tang Tian's achievements are much higher than mine. History is always written by the victors. If he was empty-handed, godlike young lad, would just be a joke. But with such a glorious battle record, godlike young lad is a shining gold medal. His achievements are truly extraordinary, and is only slightly inferior to Royal Father. Not only did she not feel dejected, she was instead filled with fighting spirit. It was a battle, and to win such a battle she was truly the #1 goddess of Heaven's Road. He thinks that I will forgive him just like that. Tang Tian's face turned black. I'm not talking about Chia Shangguan. Andre shook his head. I am talking about Sword Domain. Seeing that everyone was safe and sound, Tang Tian completely relaxed and everyone revealed smiles on their faces. The period of bitter battles was probably Ursa Major constellation's most difficult time. Every battle line was extremely tense and everyone had to put in a lot of effort. After returning, he instructed Bell to gather information on Gemini constellation. He actually had the blood meridians of Gemini constellation, which made him extremely surprised. Mingyu said indifferently, the wind outside is too strong, let's go in. Andre muttered, the first time I met him was at Andromeda constellation. Tang Tian was not strong at that time, but he was able to turn danger into safety time and time again. He is a decisive and ruthless person, and has an unusual obsession towards victory. He looks innocent but is actually very scheming, and do not be deceived by his appearance. Angelina was originally his ally, but now she has become his subordinate, and even Hunter Adrian has pledged his allegiance to him. At that time I felt that this person's luck was really good, but now that I think about it I feel that this person is not ordinary. Wei Wei and looked embarrassed. The young man beside her bowed. Ursa Major family Wei Wei Hui greets Bear King. Sexton's constellation Merlin Pagoda City. Maybe Chia will help me solve the mystery, Tang Tian thought. He raised his head to look at Uncle Bing. The words family, he emphasized it, causing everyone to chuckle. Chapter 543. The energy inside the energy furnace was continuously being purified, and continuously accumulating. He was back to the starting point of life. Blood meridians evolving inside the blood furnace, and then guiding them to places with dense energy, stimulating their growth, just like how he was beaten up by Little Fool. Letting his blood meridians be continuously beaten up by the energy should allow his zero-energy body to evolve more easily. Tang Tian did not know in the history of Gemini constellation, the Gemini furnace had never been opened before. To be able to train in two different types of power was always the strongest point of Gemini constellation, but no one had ever thought of opening the energy furnace and blood furnace. Thinking of it and doing it, that was Tang Tian's style. Blood meridians saints were also inseparable from energy, because under the stimulation of energy, the blood meridians would change more easily. Producing new changes meant that the competition would be more intense, and it would be easier to evolve into stronger blood meridians. Alright, the word crazy was truly too accurate. The young man's actions were always so ecstatic and unpredictable, he did not have any intention to stop him and just left. Tang Tian did not have any feelings towards the blood saint previously, but the more he looked, the more fearful he became. The blood saint was much stronger than he had imagined. If not for Senior Gui Wu's records and insights, Tang Tian felt that he would never understand all of this. Spirit sages had an extremely deep understanding of training the spirit. At the start, people were very confused how spirits were formed, and this question had puzzled humans for many years. And in the end, the answer to this mystery was the inspiration that star treasures gave to martial artists. Little Fool thought in his mind, but he still explained to Tang Tian. Although this method was beneficial to the blood meridians, but to him it was rather harmful. Spirit was the most mystical and subtle part of the life laws. Upon reaching the saint level, one would realize that all training was the same and were all explorations of life. This title was obviously even more eye-catching. After watching for half a day, Little Fool did not discover anything. There were no changes in the fool's body. Little Fool looked at the fool as though he was looking at a monster. Was this guy possessed by someone? Natural selection, survival of the fittest, was one of the highest laws of nature. The path of life was always full of changes and richness. That's true. Tang Tian tilted his head and thought for a moment. Suddenly he said, it's very simple. I just need to guide a little less of my blood into it. My bloodline can repel energy. If I control the amount of my bloodline and make it repel energy but not destroy it, I can squeeze the energy into a ball and increase the concentration of energy. How did he suddenly become so smart? Hey waiter, you're done. Tang Tian was pleasantly surprised. The bloodline saints by Tang Tian's side were all very ordinary, and they did not understand these things. Fortunately, Senior Gui Wu had left behind many insights and experiences. Tang Tian braced himself and flipped through those ancient books that made his head hurt and finally had some insights. So, the dense energy inside the energy furnace was extremely beneficial to the growth of spirit origin, which was also the reason why Little Fool felt comfortable. Tang Tian's body was very special. Zero energy body. Without the stimulation of energy, wouldn't the evolution of his bloodline be lacking in assistance? The blood furnace was the unique spirit domain of the bloodline saints. Could allow the bloodline to continuously evolve. To the bloodline saints, it was the source of their strength. The energy inside the energy furnace was extremely dense, and Little Fool was far from being able to absorb so much. Just in time to let the blood meridians extinguish some of the energy, so he did not have to worry about the energy furnace exploding. Regardless of whether it was the blood membrane of the blood furnace or the energy walls of the energy furnace, they were all extremely sturdy and stable. Seems like he had been beaten up a lot recently and became enlightened. Little Fool was startled. This fool actually knows how to use his brain. Little Fool subconsciously retorted. But when the words reached his mouth, he was stunned. And in terms of lifespan, blood saints had a stronger advantage. Because their law was life and evolution. Little Fool was actually almost done, but the energy inside the energy furnace was too dense. Soaking inside, he felt so comfortable that he did not want to move. He was originally extremely pure, and was extremely compatible with energy. Sleeping inside the energy furnace was a form of enjoyment. Tang Tian woke Little Fool up. So among the saints, many people wanted to differentiate them from the blood saints, and called them spirit saints. Little Fool was curious. But in the next second his expression froze on his face. He had to admit that in theory there was no problem with Tang Tian's idea. But if that was the case, the density inside the energy furnace would decrease greatly. To Little Fool, that was definitely a terrible thing. The Gemini furnace's power was not just limited to that. The energy furnace was like a huge whirlpool. Absorbing the energy around it was extremely strong. And it was able to purify the energy, which was of great help to the training of true power. The blood meridians of the blood meridians saints would continuously flow into the blood furnace. After completing the evolution, the blood meridians would continuously feed into every corner of the body, and from there, it would cause the body to become stronger. For the blood meridians to be able to last for so many years and experience the baptism of time, it was enough to prove that it conformed to the laws of heaven and earth. The powerful blood saints shone with the sun and moon, swallowed the sky and roared at the moon, overturned the rivers and seas and moved freely in the void. Spirits came from energy. The denser the energy, the easier it was to form spirits. And the saints continued to deduce and research, and discovered that when the density of energy reached a certain level, it would form an extremely minute spiritual body, and that was the spirit origin. Little Fool felt as though he was soaking in an astonishingly dense energy. To Little Fool, it was the best place to recuperate. Why do you guide the blood meridians into the energy furnace? Little Fool asked coldly. Killing two birds with one stone. But to Tang Tian, the energy that could not be released was a huge hidden danger. Tang Tian, who was trembling in fear, felt as though there was a bomb in his body, and he could be blown to pieces at any time. The Gemini furnace was truly extraordinary. And life itself was one of the most profound laws in the world. All the powerful blood saints, their bodies would undergo huge changes. Some would grow wings, which would allow them to be faster and more agile. Some would grow scales, which would allow them to become sturdier and stronger. Some would have their eyes evolve, and some would have their strength become extremely terrifying. Tang Tian could not wait to try it out. But when it came to Tang Tian, there was an accident because his body was a zero-energy body. The energy furnace was of great help to Little Fool, and his spirit value was increasing rapidly. And the blood furnace was equally strong. It could use the evolution of blood to continuously transform the martial artist's body, and from there allow the martial artist's body to continuously evolve. Oh, that's what I was thinking. Tang Tian blabbered on about his thoughts. The 12 ecliptic palaces, every constellation had its own unique bloodline, and the Gemini furnace was the strongest talent of the Gemini blood meridians awakening. The Gemini furnace was formed from the energy furnace and the blood furnace, representing two completely different training methods. Martial artists who possessed the blood meridians of Gemini constellation could simultaneously train in the martial techniques of the blood meridians and energy systems. And the blood furnace was also something that Tang Tian wanted to understand. What methods would this fellow use? That was the true power of the blood furnace. Little Fool, who was awakened, flew out and stared at Tang Tian with an unkind expression. Tang Tian was surprised by his own genius thinking. His face was filled with pride. This godlike young lad was truly too powerful. Oh, if Chia knew, she would definitely praise me for being smart. Although the energy furnace and Gemini furnace were right next to each other, but how to break the barrier between the two was a problem that gave Tang Tian a headache. The energy furnace had a layer of energy outer wall, while the blood furnace had a layer of blood membrane, and the two were stuck together. Star treasures that were slightly stronger would have their own martial spirit. The evolution of star treasures would take place over the years. Now Tang Tian had an even better method, and that was the blood furnace. He did not need the blood meridians to produce new components, and only needed the components of the zero-energy body that could repel energy. The zero-energy body that had a strong repelling ability towards energy caused the energy furnace to be in an intense state of suppression. The energy furnace's ability to absorb energy was also very strong. The energy that was absorbed into the energy furnace was unable to smoothly enter Tang Tian's body, and so it continued to accumulate inside the energy furnace. When the constellation was formed, the star power would gradually stabilize. Some of the treasures inside the constellation were extremely compatible with energy, which was also the star power, and they would continuously absorb the star power, and after thousands of years, the rich energy would accumulate in their bodies, and they would start to nurture martial spirits. But when Tang Tian guided the blood meridians into the energy furnace, Little Fool was awakened and immediately became enraged. Tang Tian's blood meridians possessed an extremely strong annihilation energy effect, and the energy inside the energy furnace's concentration dropped. Tang Tian had unknowingly done something that no one had ever done before. But towards this point Bing was already used to it. All the powerful martial techniques when in Crazy Tang's hands would always change beyond recognition. To be able to produce the zero energy body, such a weird body, Bing would not be surprised at all if Crazy Tang were to produce anything else. Only the completely awakened Gemini blood meridians could produce the Gemini furnace, and its power could be seen at a glance. Tang Tian thought about the training method of the zero energy body that Senior Gui Wu left behind, and continuously stimulated the zero energy body, causing its ability to repel energy to become stronger. He and Little Fool fought for a few days, proving that Senior Gui Wu's guess was correct. As for energy, was there a better place than the energy furnace? And the blood furnace was the most resolute supporter of this law. It was like an arena, and the people participating in the fight were the various similar components in everyone's blood meridians. Any type of blood meridians had extremely complicated components, formed from billions of small components. The similar components would compete with each other and the strong would win. Let us try. Tang Tian was also extremely excited by his own genius idea. If it could really be realized, in the future this godlike young lad, would he be hailed as a godlike master of cultivation? Little Fool wanted to advise Tang Tian to cancel the plan. No matter how he looked at it, the plan was not worth it. How could the potential of the zero energy body compare to his? Little Fool was also thinking, how could he guide the blood meridians into the energy furnace? A saint's spirit domain also needed to be trained. In the mainstream understanding, the so-called martial spirit was the spirit that could be transformed into energy. The spirit domain was evolved from the martial spirit, and to make the spirit domain stronger, one needed to train the spirit. But now that he understood it, Tang Tian also had an idea. The fool's idea was feasible. Chapter 544. One moving and one quiet, one hot and one cold, Tang Tian had broken the barrier between them, and allowed them to once again form an ingenious balance. Little Fool quivered. He immediately stopped his dangerous thoughts and became vigilant. He had obviously told all the relevant information about the Gemini furnace to the Fool. In the end, the Fool had completely ignored it. Relying on his own imagination and pestering endlessly, he did whatever he wanted. His other side was actually so muddle-headed. Little Fool was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. If the sea of blood in the blood furnace was a sea of lava with raging winds, then the sea of energy in the energy furnace was a calm and windless ice-cold sea. Tang Tian's method was extremely simple and crude. It was the first time Little Fool felt that his brain was not enough. He stared blankly at Tang Tian as though he did not know the Fool. His heart felt as though it was being trampled by a group of wild beasts. Little Fool stared at Tang Tian in shock. He did not know what to say. Little Fool suddenly noticed that the concentration of energy was continuously increasing, and the repulsive force coming from the sea of blood was also becoming stronger. That bright and blazing scarlet red made Little Fool instinctively dislike it. You're right. Little Fool, who had calmed down, nodded his head. He sneered in his heart, how could a lunatic's world be the same? So Little Fool is the other side of me. Tang Tian was not angry. He rubbed his chin and was enlightened. No wonder I felt that Little Fool is powerful. The other side of this godlike young lad, how can he not be powerful? In the end, I am powerful. Ayaya, seriously, why am I so powerful? The blue energy became even denser. It was as though it had been compressed by half, and the deep blue color to Little Fool was like a delicacy that he could not resist. That's right, it must be like that. Shouldn't those fellows who knew that they had a second personality be nervous and vigilant? To have such a proud expression as though all the credit belongs to me, what kind of nerves do they have? Tang Tian was quite satisfied with his own genius, but he reminded the waiter in all seriousness, "Hey waiter," as the other side of the godlike young man, "don't let my illustrious name down." The waiter had calmed down a little, but now he was enraged by Erwo's nonchalant attitude. He screamed, "If you want to die, go ahead. Don't drag me into this. I'm so unlucky to actually share the same body with a bastard like you." His heart turned cold. The Gemini furnace was the final product of the Gemini blood meridian's awakening. He decided to spend some time to sort out the things left behind by Senior Gui Wu in the forceful subjugating bead. Moreover, he also wanted to find out what the stone in Yaya's body was. Tang Tian grabbed Yaya and lifted her in front of him. He pinched Yaya's meaty and round buttocks and clicked his tongue in wonder. "You didn't even leave a mark. This meat is so bouncy, it must be very chewy." Could it be that the world of lunatics was really that magical? Are you crazy? Are you trying to get us all killed? You lunatic. Gemini furnace. Do you know what a Gemini furnace is? You don't even know shit and you're so reckless. I'm so stupid to actually believe you, a brainless idiot, a lunatic. You idiot, you've messed everything up. Messed up. Do you know? You're trying to get us all killed. Yaya's body froze, her face turning green. When the waiter reacted, Tang Tian was already showing off and playing with the Gemini furnace. He was talking to himself. Relax, relax, such a genius idea, even the godlike young lad can think of it. What else can't the godlike young lad do? But little fool, it's not that I want to scold you, but you are the other side of the godlike young lad. Can you show a bit of grandeur? Don't throw my face, it's just a small matter and you're making such a big fuss. The godlike young lad is smart and far-sighted, steady and magnanimous. Why didn't you learn from him? The other side of me isn't so weak, right? The waiter immediately realized the benefits of it. He hugged his head and looked at Tang Tian in disbelief. In truth, Tang Tian being able to complete the ultimate awakening was inconceivable to the waiter. Even if it was little fool himself, he was not sure if he could awaken so early. And it was constructed so crudely. He could not control the energy furnace, but he could control the blood furnace to a certain extent. Tang Tian controlled the blood furnace and fiercely smashed into the energy furnace. Bang, the energy wall broke, the blood membrane and blood splattered. The originally distinct Gemini furnace had merged into one. Is that so? Is that so? Tang Tian's face was originally pale, but hearing little fool's words, he immediately became spirited and proud. Don't worship me too much, actually it's not a big deal. To the godlike young lad, this kind of innovation is a piece of cake. Thinking about that, the waiter's heart twitched. He had finally awakened with great difficulty and was able to have a big killing technique, but now it was ruined by the fool. The waiter's heart was bleeding. The red sea of blood and the blue energy were still clearly separated, but between the sea of blood and the energy, there was a large empty space. The scene in front of him was extremely strange. The blue energy was squeezed to a corner of the energy furnace, and the bright red sea of blood was also squeezed to a corner of the blood furnace. Without hesitation, he rushed into the sea of energy. All right. Tang Tian clapped his hands, his face full of pride, and said, as expected to the godlike young lad, it is not difficult at all. Hey little fool, you have to learn from me. When you are able to learn half of my power, oh no, 30% of my power, you will realize the world in your eyes will be completely different. The 12 ecliptic palaces, every palace's blood meridian would have completely different and unique abilities during the ultimate awakening. But for the ecliptic palace constellation's blood meridian, to complete the ultimate awakening was extremely difficult. Balance should be the Libra constellation's talent. The Gemini constellation's talent was one body with two sides, light and shadow, yin and yang, black and white, etc., etc. It itself was an extremely profound and powerful law. The Gemini constellation was one body with two sides skillfully and easily, but no one would have thought to fuse two sides into one body, it would create such a strange balance. Wait a minute, the question was diverted, everyone was talking about the Gemini furnace just now. Little fool's face was so gloomy that water could drip out, his words seemed to be squeezed out from the gaps of his teeth. Don't be too nervous? Hee, congratulations, you have become the first Gemini saint in history to fuse the Gemini furnace into one body. Tang Tian released his hand, and Yaya disappeared in the blink of an eye, as though he had been pardoned. Little fool soaked his body in the blue sea of energy. Tang Tian's face was slightly white. The fierce attack just now, even he himself was unable to take it. Hearing little fool's screams, he waved his hand, don't be too nervous. The Gemini furnace's transformation was a success, and Tang Tian's mood was extremely good. It allowed him to taste the sweetness. Senior Gui Wu was truly worthy of being called Onyx Soul's three blood saints. He still had some standards. This fool actually succeeded. In the usage of the Gemini furnace, there was no such thing as fusing the two furnaces into one. He initially thought that Tang Tian would have some ingenious method. Little fool's mouth was wide open and he was speechless for a long time. His IQ must not be dragged down by this idiot. Between me and the fool we are mortal enemies. This is definitely the fool's plot. The fool wants to use this method to lower my intelligence, and then use my rich experience to defeat me. The blue energy that originally filled the energy furnace was pushed to the corner of the energy furnace by the strong repulsive force. and only occupied half of the energy furnace. Smart and wise, steady and magnanimous. The mystical and subtle balance caused Little Fool to be absent-minded for a moment. Yaya flew out at this time, squeaking as he pounced towards Tang Tian. Ever since this little fellow had wings, he had been flying around and did not stop to rest. To be able to succeed like this. This fellow's luck is truly too good. Alright, form spirits do not have lungs. As expected, I have lost my mind from anger. If he did not see it with his own eyes, he would never believe that the mystical balance in front of him was actually created by the fool. Carrying this sorrow and regret, Little Fool flew into the energy furnace, and then he was startled. He could see that the blood furnace was like a heart, rhythmically contracting and expanding. Every time it contracted and expanded, it would cause the blood inside the blood furnace to sway. In Little Fool's vision, the sea of blood was like a bright red ocean. The wind howled angrily, surging unceasingly, containing an unparalleled wild power. He once again floated into Tang Tian's body. The originally beautiful Gemini furnace in his eyes was a tragic sight. With a missing piece in the middle, it was pieced together stiffly. The burning sensation assaulted his senses. Between the blue and red, there was an extremely strong repulsive force. They were like magnets repelling each other. The opposite blood meridians were slowly evolving. The repulsive force became stronger and stronger, and at the same time the blue sea of energy that he was immersed in also started to absorb the energy. Conversely, the stronger the sea of energy, it also stimulated the evolution of the blood meridians. This reaction. Other than the crazy young man, he could not think of anyone else. Go and play by yourself, I still have things to do. Little Fool was so angry that his entire body was trembling, all of his calmness was thrown to the back of his head. He felt that he was going crazy. To actually place his hopes on such an unreliable person, he deserved to die. Little Fool, who was immersed in the sea of energy, his face was as gloomy as the surrounding seawater that was becoming deeper. Where the hell did you come from to have such unwarranted confidence? I was actually taught a lesson by the fool. But the calm Little Fool did not let the pleasure get to his head. He felt extremely uncomfortable. This asshole. He had never felt so comfortable before. It made him so happy that he almost moaned. The density had doubled, the effect was obvious. Little Fool could clearly feel that the spirit origin was continuously being produced. Tang Tian groaned. The process of the collision was definitely not beautiful. An intense pain came from his chest, and before he could even gasp for breath, his ears were filled with Little Fool's flustered and exasperated screams. Eating. Chapter 545. Seeing their excited faces, Ling Su did not give them a chance to refute. He called the guards and brought the two of them into the recruit barracks. Tang Tian stood beside the pile of spirit treasures as though he was a trash collector. The silver frost sheep horn seal suddenly lit up with a faint light aura, transforming into a silver light that entered Ling Su's body. Ling Su looked at the two people in front of him, squinting his eyes. You guys want to learn spear techniques from me? Ling Su squinted his eyes, his aura suddenly becoming sharp. The two of them held their breaths, their bodies trembling slightly. Their strength in front of Ling Su was insignificant. Being swept by Ling Su's gaze, the two of them felt weak, but they did not cower. The hardships they had gone through had tempered their willpower and also strengthened their hearts. The two of them revealed a look of reverence. Ling Su's killing intent was as dense as wine, but it did not have the slightest bit of bloodthirstiness or ruthlessness. This pair of wings seems to be called demonic wings. It is a spirit treasure from the distant east. I do not know anything else. Little Crane, your crane sex inheritance originates from the east. I feel that this demonic wings should be very suitable for you. The east actually has spirit treasures. It truly makes me curious. After that, from Senior Gui Wu's records, he found out about the origins of drunk on Saint Blood, and immediately started to learn it. Silver Frost Sheephorn Seal. Ling Su declined to comment. Wait till you guys pass the recruit training. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, the recruit training of Ursa Major Constellation is the most cruel. People die often. If you can't hold on, don't force yourself. In front of him, Ouyang Shi and Zhou Xian stood perfectly straight. Tang Tian thought sinisterly, humph humph, little crane wearing the wings, he will definitely be so beautiful that even the ladies will be jealous. Ling Su's mind was blank, and subconsciously received the silver frost sheephorn seal that Tang Tian threw over. The seal did not look special. It was a straight sheep horn, a round seal with the insignia of the silver frost mounts carved on it. Xianxia straightened his back and shouted loudly, "Master, please accept us." He was full of fighting spirit. The honest Xianxia was stunned. This question had stumped him. Yes, why did Lord Lingsu want to teach them? They had nothing to do with Lingsu, and they were even disciples of opposing forces. Why would Lord Lingsu want to teach them? In the courtyard, the feeling of spring gradually rose, the branches of the flowers trembled, and the bamboo table was cool with tea and teacups. Crane sat upright with a smile on his face. I have not seen Xiao Duo for a long time. Xiao Duo is becoming more and more beautiful. Rebuild the silver frost mounts? Ling Su looked at the two of them and mocked. With just the two of you rebuild the silver frost mounts? This sword was the only sword that Senior Gui Wu had collected. Crane bowed slightly. Help me thank Aunt. Aunt thinks too highly of me. The smile on Crane's face remained, his tone was tactful. Aunt is in her prime, it is still too early for such matters. Furthermore, I feel very comfortable in Ursa Major constellation and do not want to change places. The current Crane was maturing day by day, his state of mind was calm, and his breadth of mind was much wider than before. Facing the goodwill from his aunt, he did not display the coldness of rejecting her, but instead smiled and thanked her. Tang Tian muttered and threw the silver frost sheep talisman to Ling Su. Xianxia and Zhou Xian's faces immediately flushed red. In the middle of the meeting room there was a pile of spirit treasures. Tang Tian's voice sounded distant to everyone's ears as though it came from high up in the clouds, causing everyone to feel as though they were stepping on cotton, their legs going soft. Everyone's expression was somewhat absent-minded, even the most calm Jing Hao was somewhat dazed. From the moment he stepped into the meeting room, his gaze never left the black sword in the middle of the spirit treasures. Big brother Jing Hao, this, drunk on Saint blood, is for you. Without hesitation, Tang Tian threw the black sword to Jing Hao. Jing Hao subconsciously received it. Upon receiving it, a burst of sword intent entered his heart. He quivered as though he was doused with cold water in the winter. He became clear-headed. Ling Su knew how precious it was. The silver frost sheep horn seal, the commander's seal of the silver frost mounts, was the symbol of the authority of the silver frost mounts, and only the leader of the silver frost mounts had the qualifications to wield it. Although Zhou Yan's face was slightly pale, he gathered his courage. Master, only the silver frost mounts can rebuild the Ares. Only the silver frost mounts can allow people to regain the lost glory of the Ares. Master, the time to rebuild the silver frost mounts has arrived. Xiao Duo's face blossomed into a smile. Thank you for your praise, Your Highness. The sword's body was black and unadorned, thick and heavy, with 2 lines of small characters. Drink the saint's blood, only then will you know the taste. And Yu Hong wanted to say more, but Crane waved his hand. Aunt and you don't have to persuade me. Crane does not have great ambitions and does not have the ambition of a human king. It was not easy for De Xiong to walk to where he is today. It can be said that every inch of land and every inch of blood, everyone fought shoulder to shoulder, united as a stronghold to have the current situation. Crane fought with everyone here and was injured but never thought of leaving. Although Sagittarius is good, but it is not a place that Crane can protect. This, drunk on Saint blood, has a great history. Many years ago, there was a sword fanatic that appeared out of nowhere, moving unhindered in heaven's road, challenging saints everywhere, but no one was able to last more than 10 moves, causing his reputation to rise. All of the saints that lost to him secretly formed an alliance and set up an ambush, but in the end he killed 30 of them and left calmly, and no one dared to chase after him. This sword is his sword. After drinking the saint's blood, he changed its name to Drunk on Saint blood, and only drinks the saint's blood. Silver frost mounts. The current Ling Su was no longer the immature young lad. The continuous campaigns, especially the continuous battles with the saints and Big Dipper, caused him to become even stronger. Standing in front of him, Xianxia and Zhou Yan both felt their hearts jump. Ling Su was like a death god that walked out from hell, his entire body overflowing with killing intent. Such a strong sword concept. The lady was called Yu Hong, and was a person with authority in Sagittarius constellation, and was deeply trusted by the Empress. I called everyone here to split the spoils. No, to split the spoils of war. Jing Hao's face could not help but reveal a look of ecstasy. Any swordsman's love for their treasured swords was definitely from the bottom of their hearts. I don't know. Ling Su thought for a while, then muttered to himself, teacher would probably hope that I do that, but I do not have any sense of belonging to Aries constellation. To protect Aries constellation I am not willing. Oh, I will go find Crazy Tang. I might as well let him take down Aries constellation, that way I can kill two birds with one stone. She laughed. His Majesty once said, Your Highness represents the future. I had my suspicions, but after personally seeing Your Highness today, I know how wise His Majesty is. The future Sagittarius constellation in Your Highness' hands will definitely shine. Zhou Xian, who had been quiet the entire time, suddenly spoke. Because the silver frost mounts cannot be alone. The few people beside her revealed looks of shock. Although the rumors of Prince Crane taking over Sagittarius constellation was not new, but for Niu Hong to personally say it, it had a completely different meaning. In the future he would directly kick little Crane into the ranks of women, and no one would be more handsome than this godlike young lad. Niu Hong forced a smile. We have important matters to attend to. As light as a feather, every feather on the wings was as clear as water, the surface suffused with a layer of faint rainbow light aura. The energy undulation released by the wings was not considered strong, but it had a unique rhythm, which immediately tugged at Crane's heartstrings. Just at that moment the communication treasure on his body moved. Crane was already completely immersed in the profound and mysterious rhythm of the heavenly devil feather. The Crane body energy in his body involuntarily flowed along with the rhythm. Why do I have to teach you? Ling Su was expressionless. Crane bowed to everyone and then left. Ling Su, this silver frost sheep horn seal is definitely yours. It is said that only the leader of the silver frost mounts can wield it. This Senior Gui Wu's taste is really mixed. Why does he accept everything? The disciples of the Crane sect kept pouring into Ursa Major constellation, and even the great clan elder was considering moving the Crane sect to Ursa Major constellation. The training environment of Ursa Major constellation was many times better than Heavenly Crane constellation. It was not only the Crane sect, even the Shangguan family of Immortal constellation had already migrated to Ursa Major constellation. Big Brother Ling, are you really going to build the silver frost mounts? Wei Weian asked curiously. Crane smiled. Why must I be the master of a constellation? Crane's life wish is to revitalize the Crane sect and to obtain a place for the Crane sect to rest. And now that I have achieved my wish, and it has far exceeded what I wanted, what more can I be dissatisfied with? Tang Tian did not have time to care about him and continued with his division of loot. Crazy Tang has asked everyone to gather. Ling Su snorted. What tricks does he want to play again? Let's go, we can find him to fight. The admiration in Niu Hong's eyes became heavier. His Highness Crane's demeanor and bearing was simply impeccable. She had followed the Empress for a long time and knew a thing or two about her thoughts. The Empress had never married in her life and did not have any children, so she was very fond of her nephew. Crane's performance in the past 2 years proved that he had the ability to inherit Sagittarius constellation. Tang Tian said everything he knew in one breath, then grabbed a pair of crystal wings and threw it to Crane. By Xiao Duo's side, a few beautiful ladies sat side by side. They looked at the refined and gentle His Highness Crane, and could not help but reveal looks of admiration. One of the slightly older ladies said, Before we left, His Majesty instructed us to pass on a message to Your Highness. If there are any difficulties, Sagittarius constellation will forever be Your Highness' support. The communication treasure on Crane's body trembled. Crane swept it with his mind, then raised his head and spoke to the ladies. My apologies, Crazy Tang is looking for me to discuss matters. I will take my leave. Inside the energy furnace, Little Fool's face was covered in tears. His heart felt as though it was being cut by a knife. Master, please do not look down on me. Inside the meeting room, Crane, Ling Su, Jing Hao, Magic Flute, Ding Man led the Saint Unit, Amauri, Han Bingning and the rest all entered one by one, but when they entered the meeting room their gazes landed in the middle of the meeting room and all of them were stunned. Jing Hao was extremely excited. He caressed the sword body, and the lonely back view of the exceptional swordsman appeared in his mind. He knew about it, but the senior did not leave his name, and the matter had become a taboo topic and was not mentioned in detail. The Honorable Martial Alliance was also a participant at that time, but with just a few words, it was enough for him to understand the elegance of the exceptional swordsman. All of the ladies were speechless. Anne Crane's current prestige in the Crane sect was unparalleled. He was the second saint in the Crane sect after Spiritual Master Crane, and at such a young age, and was a core member of Ursa Major constellation. It was something they did not even dare to think about in the past. And Yu Hong looked at Crane deeply and said with a profound meaning, "Although Ursa Major is good, your highness is not the master of Ursa Major. And for Sagittarius constellation in 3 to 5 years, your highness will be able to control the universe. Master, no matter what test it is, we will accept it." Chapter 546. Everyone in the diplomatic mission was filled with anticipation for this mission. The mechanical army's victory over Raging Fire and Dawn had pushed the mechanical spirit weapons to a new height. Mechanical martial artists were the most suitable martial artists for armies, as mechanical spirit weapons could be used on a large scale, and this advantage could not be replaced by any star treasures. But because the mechanic techniques had declined for too long, all the powerhouses did not have much confidence in them, including Libra constellation, who had already decided to walk down the path of mechanic techniques. In truth, they did not have much confidence. Little Fool had never seen such a wastrel before. Senior Gui Wu's collection was definitely not inferior to a large-scale treasure deposit. But just like that, dumbass had sent all of them away. This must be an imitation. Walking on the streets of Bear Head City, seeing the high-spirited pedestrians, Elder Shao stopped and sighed. "During Yen Yong Lai's era, I once came to Ursa Major constellation, and at that time Bear Head City was even more flourishing than it is now. But compared to the current Bear Head City, it was far from it. When Yen Yong Lai entered Bear Head City, what the people talked about was enjoyment and beauty. Now look at this place, it's full of vitality. What they talk about the most is cultivation." Crane looked at Tang Tian, who was at a loss and could not help but reveal a smile. From the perspective of benefits, any rational person would not make such a choice based on Crazy Tang's actions. However, this guy's brain was sometimes so simple. The group of elders burst into laughter. Elder Zhao's gaze was also attracted by the beautiful design of the mechanical spirit weapon, but he had done his homework before coming and said, "It should be Ursa Major constellation's latest model, sharp armored violent bear. It's said that it's still being researched, but I didn't expect it to be produced already." Clan Elder Hua was taken aback. "Are you the #1 beauty of Leo constellation's Scarlet? Leong is actually willing to part with it." So this time, Libra constellation had sent out an unprecedented diplomatic mission, with more than 500 people, and just counting the elders there were 7 of them. In the close to 100 years of diplomatic history of Libra constellation, this had never happened before, and it showed how much importance they placed on the trip to Ursa Major constellation. What they were now holding in their hands was a treasure that they didn't even dare to dream of. Every treasure was a treasure that had left its name in history. Behind each name was a legend. Elder Shao could not bring himself to laugh. He nodded with a solemn expression. Yes, Scarlet came with Andre. However, even if it was an imitation, its aura was so similar, so its price was definitely not cheap. The group of elders looked at the disappearing figure in the sky with incomparable jealousy. Clan Elder Hua, who was beside him, nodded his head. "That's right, it makes people feel moved. The rise of Ursa Major constellation is truly unstoppable. I really want to see Tang Tian. What kind of magic does he have, to be able to change the face of Ursa Major constellation? This Ursa Major constellation is already the overlord." Suddenly, a mechanical spirit weapon whizzed past their heads. Pisces' life and death wheel. Elder Zhao's gaze unconsciously swept over Liang Feng, and he couldn't help but be stunned. His gaze was attracted by the strangely shaped jade pendant hanging on Liang Feng's waist. The jade pendant looked like 2 intertwining fishes, one with silver-white pupils and the other with pitch-black pupils. The jade pendant glowed, and in the middle of the 2 intertwining fishes was a bright red compass engraved with fine markings. "Haha, you're right." Clan Elder Hua laughed out loud. "All these country bumpkins seeing these treasures, I'm afraid they will start drooling." Only after the mechanical army's victory did the higher-ups of Libra constellation truly make up their minds. Compared to the treasures in their hands, they were too lowly. Bing was also watching the scene, his mouth revealing a faint smile. He thought of his commander. In truth, from the start, the companions by Tang Tian's side were never the most outstanding or the most outstanding. Bing praised in his heart in terms of talent. Compared to Tang Tian, they were many times more outstanding. But how many people were able to achieve what Tang Tian had achieved? To do such a foolish thing, anyone with a bit of intelligence would not do it, much less those astute and ambitious people. But Tang Tian did it. The light aura in the saint's eyes was so familiar to Bing, it was the same as their army in the past. Although the clan elders were envious of Ursa Major Constellation's mechanical techniques, but they still felt that Ursa Major Constellation was just a lucky country bumpkin. All the treasures that could not be bought in the market were enough to cause all the country bumpkins who had never seen the market to become speechless. Little Fool was not moved. He was extremely angry with Tang Tian's defiling actions. The most inferior treasures could be exchanged for the loyalty of even stronger and more outstanding saints, and in his eyes, these saints were completely worthless. Relying on this group of people who were worthless in the eyes of other powerhouses, they became the current Ursa Major Constellation. Stepping into the saint level to the martial artists, the saints were glorious and illustrious, but after stepping over the threshold, they knew that the world behind them was not as beautiful as they thought. On the contrary, the world of the saint level was even crueler, even more intense. They were at the bottom of the entire saint level world. They were even more careful and lived with their tails between their legs. Those spirit technique cards made them drool. A bronze level spirit treasure was their lifelong dream. Libra Constellation. Liang Feng was enlightened. Please follow me. Bing, who came from the Southern Cross Army, knew, no matter how ordinary a person was, the light aura of transformation was equally dazzling. We must definitely not let them succeed. Elder Hua's words immediately garnered the approval of the other clan elders. Compared to him, Crane, Ling Su and Jing Hao were not surprised at all. There were times when Crazy Tang was stingy and greedy. There were times when Crazy Tang was generous like a local tyrant. As for when these two would appear, it would depend on which line Crazy Tang's nerves were on at that time. He led the way. The diplomatic group's visit was extremely sudden. Han Towel and Pai Pa had only received the various powerhouses' messages at the last minute. The two of them did not have the experience of receiving guests, so everything was a mess. A saint flew in the sky, sizing them up. Ding Man laughed. No problem. He was truly an outstanding leader. Do we have some trump card? One of the clan elders could not help but ask. All of the bitterness surged into their hearts. Under the mixed feelings, they all cried out. Liang Feng brought the diplomatic group to the reception area. Seeing Ding Man guarding there, he heaved a sigh of relief. I'll leave the rest to you. We are Libra Constellation's diplomatic group. Elder Shao said politely. The saint's chi was not ordinary, and his strength was not to be underestimated. Ursa Major Constellation had a much longer history than other constellations, but compared to Libra Constellation, the old and established ecliptic palace aristocratic families, it was still lacking by 1,000 miles. In the history of Ursa Major Constellation, there had never been anyone who had stepped into the ecliptic palace grade. But his face quickly returned to normal. He secretly mocked himself in his heart. I am truly living more and more. How can the legendary Pisces life and death wheel appear here? Trump card? Elder Shao laughed. That's right, it is the word prophet. Everyone look at this bare head city. Although it is full of youthful energy, but doesn't it have enough foundation? Ursa Major Constellation has just been established. This Tang Tian does not have any background after going through the war. He is definitely poor now. Our Libra Constellation's treasures. I do not believe that Tang Tian will not be moved. Tang Tian is truly willing to spend money on these saints, Elder Shao thought in his heart. To be able to enter Senior Gui Wu's discerning eyes, and to be able to endure the test of time to preserve the spirit treasures, they are definitely famous treasures. Another elder immediately asked, what model of mechanical spirit weapon is this? I don't think I have seen it before. This kind of light would slowly ferment in their never-ending and tireless running. Tang Tian was at a loss. He did not understand why everyone was crying. He was obviously giving them something good. For the sake of not being too casual, all of the saints were sent to receive the diplomatic group. All of these nameless people were currently famous. Elder Shao scoffed. It won't be that easy. Tang Tian is dead set on Jia Shangguan, and the Shangguan family have all been moved to Ursa Major Constellation. Furthermore, Jia Shangguan is not dead and not many people know of this news. Leong has made a mistake this time. He wants to seduce us. He is definitely not our opponent. Everyone held on to it. All of them were in a daze. Ding Man pinched his own palm with all his might, to see if he was dreaming. Liang Feng's dazed face suddenly burst out crying. This cry immediately caused a chain reaction, causing the entire meeting room to be filled with tears. This was probably the reason why he was not willing to leave the place. This warmth that was not artificial, this kind of stupid, simple sharing blessings, was the rarest quality in the world. Ling Su was just a wandering gunman, a hired thug for the clan elder. Crane was a disciple of a declining sect, and Jing Hao among the geniuses of the Honorable Martial Alliance was similarly dim. Sai Lei was a small shop owner in Three Spirit City. As for Old Man Fei, he was even less successful. Belle was an extremely ordinary onyx soul horse, Pai Pa was a sick young lady, and Long Shou Jing was a scapegoat for Draco Constellation. Ling Su was currently the hottest spear saint, and was viewed as the flag of the revival of the Silver Frost Mounts. Crane became the second saint of the Crane sect, and conquered the entire Sagittarius constellation. As long as he was willing, he could become the king of Sagittarius. Jing Hao had cultivated a rare sword spirit, and as long as he did not die, he had the qualifications to become the strongest sword saint. Sai Lei had become the #1 mechanical grandmaster engineer. Old Man Fei had also become a famous blood meridian specialist, and was in charge of the famous blood meridians laboratory. Belle had become the intelligence chief of Ursa Major Constellation, while Pai Pa and Long Shou Jing were the pillars of internal affairs of Ursa Major Constellation, and any powerhouses were willing to pay any price to bring them away. Elder Zhao's heart was thumping wildly in his mind. A name suddenly appeared. Haha, they won't swallow all the treasures, right? But the diplomatic group. I heard that even Lei Ong, that lion, also has thoughts of a marriage alliance. Elder Hua laughed. She turned her head, only to see Elder Shao staring blankly at the bright red necklace on her neck. What's there to be unwilling about? Elder Shao was flustered and exasperated. If I had a daughter as beautiful as you, I would definitely bring her here. To be able to marry such a hero, I would be smiling even in my dreams. Lei Ong definitely wants Scarlet to immediately hook up with Tang Tian. Bing was clear, the true core of the group, the true soul, was the man with a blank face. Chapter 547. When Tang Tian placed the benevolent pellet heart into her hands, she did not understand at the start. When she understood that the bright red necklace was the famous benevolent pellet heart, she was completely dumbstruck, her mind in a blank. She did not know which asshole was crying out loud, but she could not stop her tears and started to cry along with them. But she did not leave, as there were not many opportunities to observe Jing Hao. At the start, the diplomatic group was still talking loudly as though no one was around, but slowly, everyone's voices became softer. They are all replicas, but their value is not small. Another clan elder said, seems like Ursa Major Constellation's situation is much better than what we thought. They are very rich. Jing Hao. Ming Yu's heart shook. For a sword saint to waste his precious time on these worthless martial artists, there was no value in it. Ming Yu did not disturb Jing Hao, and only watched from afar as Jing Hao guided the other martial artists to train their sword techniques. The other clan elders all nodded their heads. Replicas of famous weapons were worth much more than ordinary spirit treasures. For everyone to have one, how much star coins would that cost? Suddenly, her gaze landed on the black sword in Jing Hao's hand. Swordsmen had an innate intuition towards swords, and the moment Ming Yu saw the sword, she had a feeling, good sword. How can there be so many real ones? Impossible. Definitely impossible. The other clan elders all nodded their heads again. That's right, without a spirit treasure master who was well versed in history, it was a joke to want to refine replicas. But to find out, he seemed to be richer than them, causing the elders of the diplomatic group to be dumbstruck. She immediately recognized the identity of the person and stopped in her tracks. Sword spirit. Ming Yu's calm and collected state of mind was in turmoil. The sword domain was respected by the sword, but to be able to cultivate out a sword spirit was extremely rare. Ming Yu was born with a sword body and was one of the most talented physiques to train in sword techniques, but the chances of her cultivating out a sword spirit was extremely slim. Elder Shao raised his head. His complexion was terrible, his mouth full of bitterness. Those are not replicas, they are real. Along the way they saw a few saints, all of them had a famous treasure hanging on them. Pisces life and death wheel, benevolent Dan Hart. Ursa Major Constellation was truly not simple. Now that Han Towel had found her, she agreed without hesitation. Not only her, everyone in the sacred unit felt the same way. Jing Hao was Sword Domain's second target. Elder Shao had also regained his composure. A look of determination flashed across his eyes. We need to fight for more authority from the higher-ups. Our current price tag is no longer suitable. Her gaze suddenly landed on a man in the cultivation field. Drunk on saint blood. The reason for that was because the crowd discovered that the expressions of the elders were all very gloomy. However, the higher-ups had obviously put in a lot of effort. Jing Hao was a person who valued friendship very much. It was impossible to rope him in by normal means. The only way to break through was through Tang Tian. The oppressive silence enveloped them once again. She only relaxed when she saw the benevolent pill in her hand. The kid drunk on saint blood, that tasted like a saint's blood. Other than some special places, they could wander around Bear Head City as they pleased. Everyone's eyes seemed to have a regiment of flames blazing in them. The light aura blossoming in them could not be covered up by the darkness of the night. Their mental outlook was renewed, they were brimming with boundless power. In every single person's heart there seemed to be a voice shouting, "Let's go all out. Let's go all out. Only by going all out can we be worthy of such treatment." Elder Xiao did not argue, but the bitter smile on his face became denser and denser. "This is not good." Elder Hua sighed. "Our biggest trump card is money, and this Ursa Major constellation seems to have more money than us." When she regained her senses, she realized that everyone's eyes were on her. At that time she wanted to find a hole to hide in. She had never been so embarrassed in her entire life. The elders were all knowledgeable and experienced, even if the people below them did not recognize them. How could they not recognize them? Behind each and every one of their names was a legend. Drunk on saint blood. A scholar would die for a bosom friend, that was how it was. It was not only her, everyone else was not any better. This period of time was the most abnormal period for the Ursa Major constellation saint unit. Some people would suddenly laugh foolishly, some would suddenly cry, and after a few days of effort, everyone finally struggled out of the abnormal state. Benevolent Pellet Heart could greatly increase the control of a medical martial saint's energy, and it itself contained a portion of the life laws, allowing the medical martial saint's energy to be tainted with the life laws. The life laws was one of the highest grade laws, and was the ultimate goal of all medical martial saints. Although the Benevolent Pellet Heart's life laws were not complete, but it was still able to make it the spirit treasure that all medical martial saints yearned for. But very quickly Mingyu was surprised because the martial artists that were receiving guidance were truly too weak. Such weak martial artists completely did not have the value of guidance. But Jing Hao was not the least bit impatient, instead he guided them attentively, and did not have the slightest bit of impatience because of the weak martial artists. The excitement on the elders' faces slowly dissipated, and at the same time the color of blood disappeared. The room once again descended into a strange and stifling silence. The other elders all had their mouths wide open, some had faces full of fear, some were dazed. Mingyu was not anxious and brought Yuji to stay. In her mind, Pai Pa's expression of a smile that was not a smile when she saw Yuji, it seemed to have some other meaning, but she could not guess what it was, so she threw it to the back of her mind. If she did not personally witness it, Mingyu would definitely not believe it. But Jing Hao was extremely focused, sword after sword. Mingyu opened her eyes wide, she wanted to see what profoundness was behind it. Seconded. All of the elders looked at each other, unable to say a word. Previously they were confident, since Ursa Major constellation was newly established, and Tang Tian did not have any background, so Ursa Major constellation should be poor. As long as Ursa Major constellation lacked money, then it would be easy. Constellations that were richer than Libra constellation, like Aquarius constellation, were not interested in mechanical techniques, and Libra constellation did not have many competitors. The atmosphere of the entire Ursa Major constellation truly had the aura of an overlord. She had only seen such an aura in Ursa Major constellation. No wonder Sword Domain placed such importance on Tang Tian. This also made her even more curious about Tang Tian. When she was in Andromeda constellation, she did not interact much with Tang Tian, and had very little understanding of Tang Tian. The bright red necklace on her neck had a beautiful name, Benevolent Pellet Heart. Spirit treasures were definitely not randomly named. To dare to have the word divine in its name, it was definitely not an ordinary spirit treasure. Benevolent Pellet Heart was not widely known among ordinary saints, but among the medical martial saints, it was something everyone knew. The exclamations from not far away caused Mingyu's heart to tremble, her pupils constricted. Those 3 words caused all the hairs on her body to stand. Encountering a problem, Everyone's gaze could not help but turn to look at Clan Elder Xiao. Clan Elder Xiao was the leader of the diplomatic group. Everyone then realized from the moment they entered the house, Clan Elder Xiao did not say a word. For the past few days she had been holding on to the benevolent pellet heart to sleep, and the first reaction she had when she woke up was, it was not a dream, right? All the clan elders retorted subconsciously, all of their faces flushed red. They were so excited that they almost jumped up. The scene was extremely chaotic. The martial artists below were all stunned by the scene in front of them. They had never seen the powerful clan elders lose their composure. Clan Elder Hua asked with a trembling voice, "Are they really the real thing?" The noisy quarreling slowly quietened down, as though there was an invisible hand, calming down all the noise. Every time they saw one more, their hearts would sink. Jing Hao was actually practicing the fundamental sword techniques over and over again, which was completely out of Mingyu's expectations. Clan Elder Hua broke the silence. He gradually regained his senses from the shock. What do we do now? To any swordsman, the daily training of a sword saint who had formed a sword spirit was extremely attractive. Mingyu thought in her heart. Her gaze was fixated on Jing Hao's every sword. For a full half an hour no one said a word. Clan Elder Zhao's gaze did not make Ding Man take it to heart. Now that Bear Head City was on full alert, no one dared to rob here, and she herself was not a weakling. Ding Man brought the diplomatic group, occasionally introducing them along the way, and from time to time, other saints would come and go. A sword saint was actually practicing basic swordsmanship. Bear Head City had the most training grounds. All of them were big and small training grounds, and everywhere they looked, there were martial artists sweating profusely. From Mingyu's point of view, all of these martial artists had ordinary talent. Their strength was also ordinary. The only thing worth praising was their hard work. Mingyu brought Yuji for a stroll in Bear Head City. They had already settled down, and Mingyu remembered the surprise in the lady called Pai Pa's eyes. The other party obviously did not expect that the sword domain would come. But from Pai Pa's calmness, Mingyu could tell that the other party knew of the existence of the sword domain. Another clan elder added, "I'm afraid that the other party has an extremely powerful, long-established spirit treasure master. If not, they would not be able to refine these replicas." Seconded. "It must definitely be replicas." Clan Elder Hua's tone was firm. "With so many good things, it is possible for one to appear, but for everyone to have one? Even the Honorable Martial Alliance would not be so extravagant." "Oh my god." Clan Elder Hua muttered, his face without a trace of blood. Everyone looked at each other. What's wrong with the clan elders? Clan Elder Xiao nodded his head with difficulty. Originally, Ding Man would never accept such a task. Mingyu had wanted to meet Tang Tian first, but Pai Pa said that Tang Tian was in closed-door training, and would only come out after a few days. Gradually, the martial artists dispersed, training by themselves. It was obviously not the first time. Jing Hao also started to train by himself. Mingyu's eyes lit up. Fundamental sword techniques. Ding Man settled the diplomatic group down and left, leaving the remaining work to Pai Pa and Han Tao. Once Ding Man left, the entire diplomatic group sank into silence. Ding Man smiled sweetly. "Agree." Clan Elder Hua nodded his head. The room was dead silent, but after a few seconds, it suddenly exploded. Could it be that in fundamental sword techniques, there was some unknown profoundness? Chapter 548. "Hey, to be able to receive such praise from you, it is rare." Si Jilly chuckled but was surprised in her heart. Andre was a talented student from the Military General Institute, and had always been very picky. To be able to receive such an evaluation from him was not easy. "Well-trained, strict discipline and well-commanded," Andre said without turning his head. Even if it was a piece of ordinary metal, after drinking so much saint blood, it would give birth to a spirit, and furthermore, its quality was extraordinary. Very few people knew of the origins of drunk on saint blood, but Sword Domain was extremely interested in it, and spent a great deal of effort to find out where it came from. It was refined from a piece of meteoric iron. Leo constellation did not have a long history. The smell of iron and blood had not faded, and the extravagant style had not taken shape. Oh, that's right, to be able to cultivate out a sword spirit and not use spirit techniques. A sword saint that directly points to laws, of course he has the qualifications. The Onyx Soul man nodded his head. "But that sword is a treasure of one of our Onyx Soul's seniors." "Are you shocked? Such an exceptional sword saint, to actually come from the Honorable Martial Alliance such a waste, does your sword domain not have any thoughts about it? Ursa Major Constellation's policy was definitely not suitable for strong martial artists. But, it could be predicted that when the middle and low-level martial artists matured, Ursa Major Constellation would become even more terrifying. Mingyu immediately recognized the other party's background. It was not surprising for Onyx Soul's people to recognize Drunk on Saint Blood's history, because Onyx Soul had suffered a huge setback because of the sword. Yuji burst out laughing, 100 charms blossoming. Mingyu's heart trembled, but she remained calm and collected. Onyx Soul plans to start a war with Ursa Major Constellation? So scary. Andre looked through the window and stared at the patrolling troops in the distance. Spending countless manpower and resources, but to no avail, Mingyu had never thought that the sword would actually be in Jinghao's hands. Mingyu had the urge to immediately return to sword domain, but she suppressed the urge. A figure landed beside her. It was the Onyx Soul man. Mingyu said coldly, "For Onyx Soul to actually be interested in a sword saint, this makes me have some thoughts." Mingyu did not want to spoil her plans because of the other party's greed. Suddenly the entire place quietened down. With the increase in standard, the Lupus race's huge population, the Ursa Major Constellation's armies would become extremely strong. By the way, what should I wear for tonight's banquet? Si Jilly had already begun to think about the banquet tonight. She was thinking about what kind of stunning performance would attract Tang Tian. The Onyx Soul man's face turned as white as paper. What made Mingyu even more shocked was that in Jinghao's hands, Drunk on Saint Blood did not have the slightest bit of ferocious aura. It was calm and just majestic and majestic. Such a ferocious sword was absolutely untamed, and the slightest carelessness would cause it to devour its master. At this moment, it was like an obedient and docile kitten withdrawing its sharp claws. As the sword saint went around challenging others, the sword drank the blood of the saint. The rumors circulating in the outside world weren't accurate. Mingyu remembered very clearly that someone from the mighty heavenly sword domain had specially verified it, and the final conclusion was that this sword had been tainted with the blood of at least 56 saints. Sword domain had severely underestimated Jinghao's strength. Jinghao was still using the most basic sword techniques. There wasn't the slightest bit of finesse in each sword technique, but those simple sword techniques were now emitting an indescribable fluctuation. Drunk on Saint Blood's trajectory was like a formless ripple in the air, silent and silent. And Ursa Major Constellation did not tilt its star power towards the experts, but instead treated the middle and low-level martial artists generously. The treatment that the middle and low-level martial artists enjoyed in Ursa Major Constellation was the best out of all the constellations. As long as you trained hard, you would be able to enjoy the dense star power in Ursa Major Constellation, and did not need to pay the astronomical star power tax. As though he had sensed Mingyu's gaze, he turned to look at her. The man's eyes lit up. He smiled at Mingyu, revealing his snow-white teeth. The man laughed out loud. "I am not interested in Jinghao and am not his opponent, but I am interested in the Drunk on Saint Blood in his hands." Clan Elder Hua was admiring the treasures of the saints stationed around the place, and upon hearing their discussion he snorted, "Ignorant. If they knew the value of the treasures on the guards, they would know that they are soaking in a vast ocean of star coins. Simple. This is definitely the most luxurious banquet in history." Although the 15 saints from Temple were completely wiped out, but after observing for a period of time, everyone realized that Ursa Major Constellation truly did not have many experts. But they also realized that Ursa Major Constellation's cohesiveness was extremely strong. The middle and low-level martial artists trained extremely hard, and definitely surpassed any other constellation. The swordsmen of Sword Domain all knew all the famous swords in the world like the back of their hands. Furthermore, the Drunk on Saint Blood, that had once stirred up a reign of terror. From an evolution point of view, regardless if it was the spirit type or the blood type, they had all evolved to a relatively high level, and that was the two different evolution methods. The greed in the Onyx Soul man's eyes was as though a bucket of ice water had been poured over him. His eyes were filled with shock, his expression as though he had seen a ghost. And at that moment, Mingyu was similarly unable to maintain her composure. She stared blankly at Jinghao, her face filled with disbelief. The simple and unadorned fundamental sword technique brought along the power of laws and was like a silent warning. The ridiculing words entered Mingyu's ears. His companion by his side also laughed. A fringe planet, is there any more rural place than that? That is his style. How? Mingyu was startled. Drunk on Saint blood. And in another direction, the diplomatic group of Libra Constellation. Sword Domain had always been searching for the sword. They who were familiar with the nature of the sword knew how powerful the sword was. Ursa Major Constellation's battle had truly raised their prestige, and that was the main reason for the diplomatic groups to gather. Gong Hao, who had just soared into the air, felt his chest tighten, his body swaying like a kite with broken wings. His face was flushed red, the veins on his forehead popping out. Night fell and the place became bustling. Mingyu's mind could not help but surface these words, as expected of a powerful martial artist that had cultivated out a sword's spirit. Mingyu felt as though she was struck by lightning in that moment. Mingyu's mind went blank, her body froze, and she could not even move a finger. When the sword was just refined, it released an extremely bewitching undulation. The bewitching undulation attracted all the star spirit beasts in the surrounding 500 kilometers to rush over. Tang Tian appeared. She retracted her gaze from Jing Hao's body and glanced at the person who had exclaimed out. The man was tall and sturdy with a head of fiery red short hair, his skin was dark brown, he wore an ordinary white short-sleeve shirt on his upper body, and the pants on his lower body was extremely strange, like a chain mail shining with silver light. I can only think of other ways. The man shook his head, feeling helpless. He turned and left, leaving behind a sentence. I am called Gong Hao. He thought about the unfathomable background of Jing Hao when he left, and his heart started to tear up. They were obviously all Hao. Why was the difference so huge? But regardless if it was the spirit or blood system, the blood of a saint, all of them contained a strong power. As expected, this name does not match up to my confidence and confidence. He is worthy of that sword. Mingyu said indifferently. She who was born in sword domain was extremely devout towards swords. After killing for 3 days and 3 nights, the sword had drunk its fill of the blood of tens of thousands of star spirit beasts. The bewitching undulation had gradually disappeared, the luster was restrained and was like an ordinary metal. The famed sword chose its master. Other than the honorable martial alliance who would make a comeback, the other constellations did not dare to provoke Ursa Major Constellation. Mingyu's words were a warning to the other party. Any provocation would cause the Ursa Major Constellation to retaliate. Ursa Major Constellation grew stronger through battles, and the group of lunatics were not afraid of war. When she regained her senses, Jing Hao's figure had already disappeared. She was overwhelmed with shock. Jing Hao's gaze actually had soared intent. That's right. If Ursa Major Constellation and our Leo Constellation form an alliance, we can definitely defeat the Honorable Martial Alliance. Andre also revealed a bright smile. He did not doubt Scarlet's charm in the slightest. I have to congratulate you. This kind of marriage is worthy of your exceptional looks. Their standards are truly high. Andre said, other than the quality of their soldiers, which are weaker than our army in other aspects, they are not inferior. With their bitter training, adding the inclination of Ursa Major Constellation's star power, in just a few years, their only shortcoming will disappear, and they will become one of the strongest armies in the world. What a mess. A man purposely lowered his voice and said in disdain, a group of country bumpkins. This is the simplest banquet that I have ever attended. All of them are rookies. Punixol. Tonight's banquet, all of the diplomatic groups would be participating, and she needed to stand out among them and surprise everyone. That was her style. Laws. Scarlet, who was not far away, laughed softly to Andre. This banquet is truly simple and crude. All of the clan elders laughed out loud. Andre glanced at the badges on their chests and said in disdain, the aristocratic masters only know how to enjoy themselves. The knives and forks in the banquet will only cause people to lose themselves. Only the blades and swords on the battlefield can win respect. Clan Elder Shao was rarely humorous. Even if they know they will not feel happy, they will only feel more pain, because they can't even bring a single star coin away. Ever since the start of the war between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Leo Constellation, both sides had their own victories and defeats, and the war situation was in a stalemate. No one would have thought that the first time the Honorable Martial Alliance fell would actually be in Ursa Major Constellation. The Honorable Martial Alliance had suffered a huge setback, and even the Honorable Martial Alliance had been extremely quiet for a period of time. The Onyx Soul Man froze and revealed a bitter smile. You're right, who wants to fight with Ursa Major Constellation now? At least Onyx Soul doesn't. That means they have the value of roping them in. Scarlet's eyes lit up. To be able to marry such a strong martial artist, to an ambitious woman like her, it was undoubtedly the best choice. If not for the Sword Saint's extraordinary strength, he would have long died in the tide of beasts. Jing Hao did not seem to feel anything and was still immersed in training. But very quickly Ming Yu and the Onyx Soul Man turned their heads, and on their faces they revealed looks of shock. Scarlet lazily stretched her waist. You've been watching for so long and have been staring at others along the way. What have you seen? Impossible. Don't ask me that. Andre felt his head hurting and made a surrender gesture. After half an hour, Jing Hao kept his sword, turned and left. Before leaving, he glanced at the two of them indifferently. Chapter 549. That's right. Gan Hao was calm and fearless, his gaze burning. The world-famous sword Saint Drunk on Saint Blood is Senior Gui Wu's collection. Onyx Soul has a clear record of it. I hope your majesty can explain, why is Drunk on Saint Blood in Jing Hao's hands? Explain. Tang Tian looked at Gan Hao strangely. Why do I need to explain? Gui Wu's identity was extremely high. To be able to be ranked in the top 3 in the entire history of Onyx Soul, such a strong martial artist was unimaginable. Never. The place gradually quietened down. The killing intent in Tang Tian's heart could no longer be suppressed. Gan Hao did not intentionally lower his voice, so the surrounding people all heard him and immediately went into an uproar. Gui Wu was seen as one of the 3 blood saints of Onyx Soul, and Gan Hao's sudden question was like throwing a bomb into the place. It was a huge blow to her. She held onto the wine cup tightly, not knowing that she was using too much strength, causing her knuckles to turn white. Seeing Tang Tian's back, Scarlet's expression became cold. She rejected a few men who tried to seduce her, and walked to a corner with Andre. Impulsive is the devil, impulsive is the devil. But the devil is so powerful, what do I do? Compared to him, Crane, who was at the side, had a gentle and refined smile that made people feel like they were bathing in the spring wind, elegant and graceful, definitely attracting the eyes of others. An Ling Su was dressed in the Silver Frost Mount's gold-threaded white robe, standing as straight as a spear with a cold face. He looked like a handsome and cool grandmaster, causing Wei Wei to have a heart attack. Tang Tian almost blurted out, "All right, Scarlet is innocent, but it cannot go on like this." His face squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. "Ha, I am a little uncomfortable. You guys have fun, I'll go and greet the others." "What? You must have missed." Andre held onto the wine cup, looking at Tang Tian's battered and exhausted figure. He chuckled. "It's been a long time since I saw your expression when you missed." Tang Tian's back was drenched in cold sweat. In his eyes, the place was the most terrifying battlefield. There were many strange enemies here and he still had to fight against his inner demons. Without waiting for the two of them to answer, Tang Tian secretly held onto Han Towel, who was holding him tightly with one hand, and pushed his way through the crowd with the other hand. He quickly squeezed out and asked Han Towel in a low voice, "There are still 7 minutes left. Tell me, who else do you want to greet?" She racked her brains to dress up and even thought about how to greet him. She didn't expect Tang Tian to be completely indifferent. It was impossible for her not to see that the smile Tang Tian showed her was completely forced. "Actually, I'd rather fight." The smile on Tang Tian's face became even more bitter. How long had it been since she received such cold treatment? Before Tang Tian could speak, Long Shou Jing, who had been grabbing onto Tang Tian, stood out without hesitation and said coldly, "First, do you have the right to represent Onyx Soul? Secondly, is Onyx Soul trying to scare my Ursa Major Constellation?" Tang Tian, who was already distracted, was already prepared to leave. The pitiful Tang Tian was being squeezed and squeezed by the crowd, Han Towel holding onto his arm tightly, afraid that he would slip away halfway. "Hey Tang Tian." Tang Tian rejoiced in his heart. There were still 15 minutes before the agreed time with Chia. If it was the agreed time now, Tang Tian would not care about the Constellation diplomatic group in front of Chia. They were all trash. Scarlet's appearance immediately attracted countless gazes. The crowd surrounding Tang Tian became quiet for a short period of time. "Hello, hello. Hey godlike young lad." Countdown 7.5 minutes. Under Han Towel's pull, Tang Tian appeared with a stiff smile on his face. The warm and sexy voice, breathed out like orchids, captivating people's souls. Luckily, Tang Tian did not lose his rationality, and knew that it was a banquet. Suddenly a voice entered his ears. Just now I was almost defeated by the demon. So close. Scarlet was extremely beautiful tonight. After meticulously dressing up, her curly blonde hair was contrasted with the blue satin evening dress, like the sparkling golden light of the sun shining on the surface of the water. Her bare shoulders were smooth and white, and her exquisite collarbone was on top of her full breasts, sexy and seductive. Her tightened waist and abdomen outlined the curves of a demon, making people unable to shift their gaze away. Many people were secretly excited. All along, Tang Tian's identity and background were extremely mysterious and no one knew. But Tang Tian's sudden appearance and the speed of his rise caused the whole world to raise their eyebrows. Many people were secretly guessing that Tang Tian's background was definitely big. If not, how could he achieve such a hegemony? Only 7 minutes left. Since young, as long as she revealed a smile, there would be countless people willing to give up everything for her. Her appearance, her beauty, made her the most special person in the world. She could conquer the world. This aura. Gong Hao's eyes were sharp. Seeing that Tang Tian was about to turn and leave, he shouted, "Your Majesty, please wait." She actually failed. Although he had just broken free from the dizziness, but his mind was still on the countdown timer. There was only 1 minute 45 seconds left. Tang Tian handled it mechanically. The people in front of him were surging. One after another, faces were near and far, causing him to be dazzled. The incessant voices made Tang Tian's head swell, and he was tired of dealing with them. In just a moment, Tang Tian's head was buzzing. He was dizzy, and his mind was in a trance, as though he was in a battlefield with enemies all around him, surrounding him like a tide. "As I almost killed you. I really don't have time." Tang Tian desperately tried to explain to Han Tao. "I need to go immediately." Gong Hao squinted his eyes. "Your Majesty, Senior Gui Wu has a sacred position in my onyx soul. My onyx soul will definitely not sit and watch as Senior Gui Wu's treasures wander outside." Tang Tian had a lingering fear in his heart, but he forced a smile and greeted Scarlet. "Hello, Scarlet." Under the bright lights, the golden light aura and the gloss of the evening gown reflected the light, causing Tang Tian to be unable to see clearly. As the surroundings suddenly became quiet, Scarlet's voice caused Tang Tian, who was muttering "impulsiveness is the devil," to jump in fright. Gong Hao laughed. "Master Shou Jing, why do you say that? I just want to understand if I have offended you in any way. Please forgive me." But the elders of the Libra constellation diplomatic group's eyes lit up at the same time. They had always been guessing why Ursa Major constellation would have so many treasures, and with Gong Hao's question they felt that it was possible. Tang Tian, who was held tightly by Han Tao, his entire body froze. He did not dare to use force and could only say, 10 minutes, only 10 minutes, not more than a second. Let's say it first, only 10 minutes. Yes, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. Tang Tian squeezed out a smile, but in his heart he was counting down the time-killing technique countdown. No, it's 10 minutes countdown. Tang Tian was already dizzy from all the shaking, and could not recognize who was who. The only thing that was not messed up was silently counting down the time in his heart. Why does time pass so slowly? It caused everyone to make all sorts of guesses. Could it be that Tang Tian and Senior Gui Wu had some relationship? The scene just now fell into everyone's eyes. Ming Yu frowned slightly. In truth, Scarlet was truly dazzling, so beautiful that even she was taken aback, but Tang Tian did not even look at her. She looked at Yu Ji beside her. Although Yu Ji's aura was completely different from Scarlet, but Ming Yu still had a premonition. The higher-up's idea, the possibility of success was not high. Han Tao's face had the expression of, "Master, if you are so determined, I will die to prove my determination," causing Tang Tian to have a headache. Han Tao was good in everything, but once he was stubborn, even 9 bulls could not pull him back. But she had failed today. Luckily. Senior Gui Wu? Tang Tian subconsciously asked. "Is the godlike young lad not feeling well?" Scarlet asked with concern. "His face seems to be slightly pale." Han Tao resolutely said, "I only need your Majesty for 10 minutes. Her gaze did not leave Tang Tian for even a moment. Tang Tian, who was feeling dizzy, immediately became much more clear-headed. "I wonder if your Majesty knows of Senior Gui Wu?" The fire-haired man saw Tang Tian's gaze landing on him and bowed. "I am Onyx Soul Gong Hao." Such a terrifying battlefield. Tang Tian's eyes lit up with a ray of light. He almost used his killing technique on the shining face in his field of vision. When the slightly absent-minded Tang Tian saw clearly that it was a woman's face, he suddenly reacted and dangerously suppressed the demon in his heart. If it was any other person, Tang Tian would have long beaten the other party to the point of begging for mercy, but Han Tao's body was weak and Tang Tian usually did not dare to touch her. If he was not careful and Han Tao lost an arm or a leg, then it would be troublesome. Is the big demon coming out? Han Tao interrupted with a look of persistence. I only need 10 minutes, 10 minutes. In such an occasion, if your majesty does not appear, that would be too unreasonable. For such a formal occasion with so many envoys from the constellations, all of them are important figures of the constellations, and will be extremely important to the development of our Ursa Major constellation in the future. If your majesty does not appear, such slow treatment, no matter what, it will not be justifiable. Han Tao grabbed onto Tang Tian tightly. No matter what, she did not let go. Pai Pa covered her mouth and snickered. Countdown 8 minutes. 2 minutes left. I really want to use my killing technique to clear my vision. 1 minute left. Your expression does not look like you are enjoying it. Andre laughed heartily. Among all the Your Majesty greetings, he was the first to call out Tang Tian's name. Both parties had met once and this made them feel closer. Aha, hello everyone. Her voice was extremely warm and alluring, filled with concern, causing the men to reveal intoxicated expressions. 1 minute and 20 seconds left. That's right, fighting is a man's home. Andre had an understanding expression, and then pushed Scarlet, who was behind him, out. This is my sister, Scarlet. Scarlet bit her lips tightly. She did not dare believe the result. From start to finish, Tang Tian did not even look at her. She had never encountered such a situation before. Tang Tian had not experienced the feeling of passing a day like a year for a long time. The chaotic place was simply torturous. He had decided that he would definitely not participate in any banquets in the future. He would rather train or fight and definitely not come to such a terrifying place. Andre's striking golden hair entered Tang Tian's vision. It was not easy to meet a familiar person, and Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. Andre, you're here too. Chapter 550. Tang Tian's actions to her completely lacked basic political knowledge. Crack, Gonhao's words stopped abruptly. He stared with his eyes wide open, as though he could not believe that Tang Tian actually dared to make a move. He sat on the ground, leaning on the ice coffin just like 10,000 years ago when he was leaning on the mechanical weapon and chatting with Screw. No. He definitely won't dare to make a move. Tang Tian suddenly stopped and turned, his killing intent surging out like a flood, pouncing towards Gonhao. Bing did not make a sound. He put down the ice coffin on his back. The poker face that did not have much expression revealed a rarely seen nervous expression. There was actually such a crude and barbaric sovereign king. Since you are representing Onyx Soul, then we will settle this debt today. Crane said coldly. Very quickly, someone came to clean up and the banquet started again, but no one present had the mood to eat. Everything that happened in the banquet contained too much information and they needed time to digest it. Such a terrifying fellow. His figure exploded out, pouncing towards Tang Tian. Gonhao's face was filled with disbelief. He was grabbed by Tang Tian's hand. Everyone was shocked by Tang Tian's actions. No one would have thought that Tang Tian would actually make a move in the banquet. The strong killing intent instantly enveloped Gonhao, causing his face to change. Ursa Major Constellation's display of strength, Tang Tian's decisiveness and craziness, Crane's exceptional skills, Ling Su's breathtaking spear, and even the week-long Shou Jing's unyielding spirit when facing Onyx Soul's provocation, not retreating, all of these left a deep impression on everyone. Tang Tian coldly spat out the words that no one present understood. He casually threw Gonhao, who was no longer breathing, to the ground, and turned to leave as though no one was present. He was about to move when the back of his neck tightened, a hand that was like an iron claw grabbed onto his neck. So fast. A voice came out. Crane slowly walked out, attracting everyone's gaze. His usually warm and amiable face was currently filled with killing intent. Tang Tian patted his chest, his face filled with lingering fear. Anai Yuhong looked at Crane in disbelief as though she did not recognize Crane. To be honest, she also felt that Tang Tian's behavior was a bit too much. Of course, she could see that Gonhao was up to no good, but in her opinion, There were enough ways and means to resolve it. There was no need to use such violent methods at all. If he dared to represent Onyx Soul, that would be gambling that Ursa Major Constellation would not dare to declare war with Onyx Soul, and he did not dare to gamble. As an individual, he was in the wrong for today's actions. Ni Yuhong came to a sudden realization, and a trace of admiration flashed in her eyes. Crane's words were like needles hidden in silk floss. Rather than saying it for Elder Fu to hear, why not say it to everyone present? Scarlet could not believe her eyes. Tang Tian had actually grabbed Gong Hao's neck with one hand and lifted him into the air. Cold sweat trickled down his back. A powerful killing intent enveloped him like a shadow. This fellow was completely intent on killing. But what was he looking at now? That's right, this is Ursa Major Constellation. If it weren't for this guy, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Gong Hao was too greedy for Senior Gui Wu's remnant, and overestimated himself. Guest? How come I don't remember? When did we invite Onyx Soul to Ursa Major Constellation as a guest? We have not settled the debt with ancient cold cities Tonggu, and you guys are already putting on airs and treating yourselves as guests. Crane's tone became even colder, the aura around him becoming unfathomable. Good. Elder Fu laughed in anger. To kill a guest during a banquet, everyone present, this is Ursa Major Constellation. The figure in front of him blurred and he lost sight of Tang Tian. Gong Hao's face finally changed. Tang Tian actually dared to make a move. Ling Su blocked in front of him expressionlessly, his spear tip pointed straight at Elder Fu. But there was one point that was surprisingly consistent. Oh my god. Elder Fu had reached such a position, but he knew that he was completely screwed today. Despicable Gong Hao. Crane's meaning was simple, you guys were not invited by me, you guys came to my door to beg me, don't think of yourselves as esteemed guests. Andre's face changed, his heart overwhelmed with shock so fast. He was actually unable to capture Tang Tian's movements. Tang Tian was much stronger than when he was in Andromeda Constellation, as though he was a completely different person. This guy. Doesn't he know that this will incur the disgust of the various diplomatic groups? Doesn't he know that a little impatience will spoil a great plan? How did he achieve such a hegemony? Scarlet, who was beside him, was dumbfounded. She had attended countless banquets since she was young, and had seen countless open and veiled fights at banquets. However, she had never seen a banquet host or even a monarch who would make a move on a guest. Even her father, who was known for his explosive temper, no matter how angry he would not turn hostile on a guest. Ursa Major Constellation does not accept any provocation, and Ursa Major Constellation does not need to explain anything to anyone. Crane's gaze was cold. Senior Gui Wu's remnant is truly in our hands. If Onyx Soul wants it, it's very simple, take it from our corpses. There's still 18 seconds. With so many saints releasing their aura at the same time, the entire atmosphere was stifling. He's a man. Everyone's gazes turned to look. A surge of hot blood rushed to his head. An unprecedented sense of humiliation enveloped Gong Hao. Ni Yuhong almost exclaimed in admiration. If one were to say that Tang Tian's performance did not have any political wisdom, then Prince Crane's performance was the other extreme. The banquet had allowed everyone to see Ursa Major Constellation's strength and willpower. Luckily, there's still 2 minutes. It meant that at the moment when Tang Tian made his move, she instinctively felt an intense sense of danger. He knew that at that time, if he chose to resist, Ursa Major Constellation would not hesitate to kill him. He even knew that Onyx Soul would definitely not become enemies with Ursa Major Constellation because of this matter. The reason why he raised the question at the banquet was because he thought that Tang Tian would have some misgivings at the banquet. But he never thought that Tang Tian would actually dare to make things difficult for him in front of so many diplomatic groups. Everyone had not regained their senses from the shock. Elder Fu's words had indeed spoken their thoughts. They had never heard of such a thing before. Good. Elder Fu laughed bitterly. This old man admits defeat. Everything that happened today was all my and Gong Hao's personal actions. It has nothing to do with Onyx Soul. Elder Fu also knew that it was not good. If it truly caused Onyx Soul and Ursa Major Constellation to fight, it would not be easy for him to die, he argued forcefully. I am me, Onyx Soul is Onyx Soul. Everyone's gaze was fixated on Tang Tian, who left without turning back. When he heard Elder Fu's words, he did not even turn back and waved his hands to bid farewell. Gong Hao steeled his heart and gathered his remaining strength. Don't tell me His Majesty is guilty. With that said, all the blood vessels in his body ruptured, and in the mist of blood he fell to the ground. His breathing stopped. Bing looked at the bronze star door and said softly, "Screw, we are about to see Exen. Tankung. Today's matter is not over." Screw, who was in the ice coffin, did not feel anything. He continued to move his hands tirelessly, his mouth muttering. Onyx Soul Elder Fu was enraged, seeking death. That was Niu Hong's evaluation from the side. But when Crane stood up and said such tyrannical words, she was stunned. She did not find it strange that Tang Tian was a boorish man, but she understood Crane's intelligence, so why would Crane do such a ridiculous thing? No one dared to look down on Ursa Major constellation anymore. Boorish man. But Tang Tian was completely different. He was like an extremely dangerous wild beast, and what triggered the qi in her body was the killing intent released by Tang Tian. The dense killing intent was so dense that it seemed to materialize. The entire place was filled with the sound of cold air being sucked in. The mission was a complete failure, and the punishment when they returned was worse than death. Tang Tian left the banquet and immediately entered the martial spirit chamber. He rushed towards the bronze star door like a madman. Beside him, Bing carried a transparent ice coffin. Inside was Screw, who was badly damaged. After Ling Su said that, he turned and left. Ming Yu's face was pale white as she looked at the figure carrying Gong Hao, who was cold and ruthless. Compared to the passionate and cheerful Tang Tian of Andromeda constellation, he was like a completely different person. Seeing Elder Fu coming out, Gong Hao immediately became confident. That's right, Tang Tian would definitely not dare. "What does Your Majesty mean?" A cold voice came out. An old man with a gloomy expression came out from the crowd. "Although Gong Hao's tone is not right, Your Majesty has humiliated my Onyx Soul. Do you really think that my Onyx Soul is afraid of Ursa Major constellation?" It was an unwritten rule of the upper class, and to ensure the safety of the other party's diplomatic group, was also the most basic etiquette of any constellation. That day at the training grounds, when she saw Jing Hao training the fundamental sword techniques, she was deeply shocked. The simplest sword techniques contained a law that directly touched the heart, causing Mingyu to be emotionally moved. Killing Gong Hao would unknowingly offend all the guests, and would only let everyone feel that Ursa Major constellation was arrogant and despotic, and would push Ursa Major constellation to the opposite side of everyone. The bronze star door's light aura faintly lit up, illuminating the young man's tenderness, illuminating the uncle's gray memories. The moment Tang Tian moved, the qi in Mingyu's body subconsciously moved. Her heart was overwhelmed with shock. She was born with a sword body and had an extremely strong intuition towards danger. Such an instinctive reaction was completely out of her control, and it was her first time encountering it. As expected, all the guests who were initially unhappy, all became silent. Not only did His Highness Crane's words put a label on Elder Fu, it also fixed the matter, and at the same time secretly reminded everyone. All of you must think clearly, all of you are representing your constellations. The faces of the saints who were guarding the surroundings all became gloomy, especially Meng Ta and the other saints who had experienced the Battle of Ancient Cold City. Their faces were even darker. A silver aura suddenly lit up in his vision, causing his mind to jump. He subconsciously turned his body and retreated. When Tang Tian reached the bronze star door, the boiling killing intent in his chest immediately disappeared without a trace. His cold face seemed to have melted like ice and became gentle. Gong Hao forced himself to calm down and continuously encouraged himself in his heart. He does not dare to make a move. He definitely does not dare to make a move. He is just putting on an act. All the esteemed guests who are seated here, all represent their respective powerhouses. You are unable to represent Onyx Soul, who let you in. Sneaking into the banquet, provoking His Majesty, you are seeking death. Crane said coldly, "Just surrender. I do not wish to alarm all the esteemed guests here. We will naturally negotiate with Onyx Soul." Chapter 551. That person saw the flourishing life forms in Heaven's Road, which was completely different from the sacred Saint Galaxy, and was extremely interested. Thus he focused on researching blood meridians and became the Onyx Soul. Jia Shengguan explained. Screw's mumbling suddenly stopped. It was quiet for a few seconds. Suddenly, a hysterical shout came out from the bronze star door. Jia Shengguan said, "There are two reasons. One is because the star door has already been marked, and when the time comes the other party's saint army will flood into Heaven's Road. The other reason is after 900 years of development, Temple with the support of the powerhouse behind it has already grown strong, and the Ecliptic Palace's alliance's strength is unable to hold the advantage. Brother Tian, don't worry, Xia Shangguan said sweetly. This time in Red Valley, we found a complete bronze star door. No matter where we are in the future, we will be able to contact each other. On the other side of the bronze star door, Xia held onto her chin, shaking it, her face filled with gentleness and worship. She did not have the sharpness of an invincible goddess of war, only the infatuation of a young lady in love. So painful. He forgot that he could stand up. He forgot that he could fly. He forgot about this world. It was as if he had returned to the trenches where the flames of war raged. Amidst the deafening explosions, under the interweaving dazzling lights and amidst the mud, he instinctively crawled forward. 261 set, many of them are broken. Captain, don't die. Ah, Exen, don't die. Little fellow, don't die. Tang Tian's voice came out from behind, causing Ah Exen, who was lying on the ground, to be startled. Comrade. She shook her head. There was no reasoning with a woman who had fallen in love. Why not get rid of Temple first? Tang Tian could not help but ask. After so many years, Heaven's Road has already taken on a new look, and has already developed its own inheritance. And about 900 years ago, another saint from the sacred Saint Galaxy found an extremely narrow star door, and stepped into Heaven's Road. He was different from the previous 13 saints. This saint had an extremely profound background, and the billions of spirits in Heaven's Road shocked him. He wanted to take Heaven's Road into his pocket, but the star door was extremely narrow, and would only open once every 1,000 years, so he established Temple. Xia Shangguan's tone was somewhat gloomy. Hence, the Ecliptic Palace's alliance began to search for the stargate that their ancestors had been swept into. From the records of their ancestors, the sacred Saint Galaxy was vast and had many powerhouses. They wanted to enter the sacred Saint Galaxy to find the enemies of Temple and obtain support. Xiao Man glanced at him. If you say anything bad about Master again, I will chop you up and feed you to the dogs. Chia. Not far away, Ah Exan and Xiao Man squatted on the ground. Ah Exan snorted. Where's your imposing manner? Where was the imposing manner of an adult? Why is it that when I talk to that rascal, my lord doesn't have any imposing manner? This is too embarrassing. Southern Cross Army advance. Behind the bronze star door, Bing was sobbing silently. Tang Tian felt that his common sense was completely subverted. Even Bing, who was smiling at the side, was shocked. At the same time, Ah Exan, who was behind Xia Shangguan, also stood up with a shocked expression. Ah Exan. Screw. Why do you want to die alone? Everyone said that we will charge together, fight together, and die together on the battlefield. You all said that you will not leave me behind. Ah Exan's face had a perfect contact with the ground, and he was smashed to the ground by Xiaoman. Tang Tian instantly forgot about the entire world. What Heaven's Road, what war, everything. He had completely forgotten about it. He laughed foolishly, and like a dead man he told everything that had happened to him to Chia. He slapped the ground with all his might and cried out loud. I don't want to run. I must definitely flatten Temple. The joints are severely damaged. Give me the number 3 joint. Everyone move faster. Hold on, don't fall. Bang. Ah Exan, who was sprawled on the ground, stared blankly at the soil. His mind was blank. Tang Tian's mouth was wide open. He was stunned by the news. The 12 ecliptic palaces are actually formed like that. Xiao Man, who was behind her, raised her eyebrows. In the battle at Red Valley, their war spirit army had lost over 30% of their strength, and it was the most intense battle she had ever experienced. So it's like that. Tang Tian scratched his head. He was enlightened. He had always felt weird. Why was the Southern Cross bronze plate on him? Tang Tian was shocked by Chia's saint army. He asked, why are there so many saints in the sacred Saint Galaxy? Commander. Ah Exan, I am Bing. A trembling voice came out from the bronze star door. Xia Shangguan's description seemed to have lifted the veil of history. All for the sake of a bronze star door. Xiao Man glared at him, and Ah Exan immediately shut his mouth. The violent woman was capable of doing anything. The star door started to mumble. It was intermittent, but it was extremely familiar. Screw. The exact year when Temple was established is not clear. Although Temple is unable to open the star door, but it has always been connected to the sacred Saint Galaxy. They established the Honorable Martial Alliance, using the name of fighting against Onyx Soul. they quickly infiltrated into every corner of the constellation. The 12 ecliptic palaces are the descendants of the 12 saints. After they investigated the origins of the Honorable Martial Alliance, they felt an immense danger, because there is not much time left before the star door opens again. The familiar voice that came from the other side of the bronze star door overlapped with the innocent and tender face of the little brat in his memories. Jia Shengguan's words caused Bing to stand up, his face filled with shock. "I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. If I leave, who will help you? I'm not dead, Exen, you lied to me. I've searched the entire Sea of Exile, but there's nothing." Because the commander of the Southern Cross Army also came from the Sacred Saint Galaxy, and he is Uncle's spirit general. That year, the most important mission of the Southern Cross Army was to protect the Star Door. Uncle met him on the way to find clues about the Star Door. Brother Tian's Southern Cross bronze plate was made by him. "Wait a minute, where's the other person?" He immediately reacted. He crawled towards the two figures with all his might. The trembling voice pierced through the years. It was dyed with the vicissitudes of life, but the familiar voice did not change at all. All of the gray memories suddenly pulled him into an unforgettable period of time. Exen felt as though he was struck by lightning. He stopped, he raised his head, his tears blurring everything. But he could clearly see, so clearly, not far from the trenches, Screw was in the middle of a pile of broken mechanical weapons, his face filled with worry, frantically repairing them, his mouth muttering. Brother Tian's father found the Star Door, but a traitor appeared in the Ecliptic Palace's alliance. He was ambushed by the temple and was heavily injured. He did not return to the Ecliptic Palace's alliance, but closed the Gemini constellation and hid in an unknown place to recuperate. When his injuries were better, he brought his spirit general and headed to the Sacred Saint Galaxy. "Master is injured." Xiaoman's gaze landed on Jia Shengguan's right arm, which was covered in blood. Xiaoman's eyes turned red. She wanted to help him, but Jia, who was covering her mouth with tears, extended his hand to stop her. Xiaoman's heart was filled with regret. "Why did I throw him just now?" Exen, who was sprawled on the ground, his body trembling like a sieve, both of his hands digging into the mud, his eyes instantly becoming blurry, his tears were like a river bursting through a dam, washing away the mud on his face, causing it to become wet. It was ugly and dirty, but he did not feel anything. Tang Tian, who could not wait, saw the light aura light up and shouted at the top of his lungs. "Screw." And then? Tang Tian was completely captivated. The young lady's sweet and gentle voice was the most beautiful voice in the world. "Temple. Jia, how can we meet up? Let's go to the Sacred Saint Galaxy together." Tang Tian said. "That's great. Then we can meet up in the Sacred Saint Galaxy." Tang Tian said with concern. "Jia, if you meet with danger, don't try to be brave." "Jia, what exactly is inside the sextant?" "Senior Songyang, you said that there are coordinates inside. And who exactly is that asshole?" Tang Tian asked the question that had been accumulating in his heart for a long time. "Asshole." Tang Tian punched the ground heavily. He clenched his teeth, his chest was filled with rage. "The sentence again." Exin mumbled. "Brother Tian, let's meet up in the Sacred Saint Galaxy. I also have a star door that leads to the Sacred Saint Galaxy." Jia Shanghai Guan said something shocking. But Tang Tian was startled. "Xiaoren, are you thinking of your lover?" A face appeared in front of her. It was Exin. Jia Shanghai Guan replied. "The markings inside the sextant are the coordinates that lead to the Sacred Saint Galaxy's star door. Brother Tian's father is the master of Gemini constellation." Screw. Xian is over there. He is over there. He can definitely hear your voice." Xian's eyes were blurred with tears as though he was struck by lightning. He crawled towards the bronze star door with all his might. His entire body was covered in mud. His tears uncontrollably fell onto the mud in front of him, wetting the mud and staining his body. "Saint. Temple." Tang Tian was completely stunned. "Temple, wasn't that the Honorable Martial Alliance?" Exin was like a prawn covered in mud, his body trembling. Bing, who was not far away, listened to Tang Tian vividly describing how powerful he was, how he killed in all directions, and could not help but smile. What a naive fellow. "I found Screw. I said I wanted to meet you. No, to hear your voice." "Sacred Saint Galaxy? What place is that?" Tang Tian was startled. He was not surprised that the asshole was the master of Gemini constellation. When Songyang Yu said that the sextants I was a coordinate, he was thinking, Could it be the entrance to Gemini constellation? Never did he expect it to be a place he had never heard of before. Spanner, spanner, give me a spanner, hurry, hurry, damn it, move faster. Brat. Tang Tian's chest was moving up and down. He only had one thought in his mind. He wanted to go to the Sacred Saint Galaxy. In front of the Bronze Star door, Tang Tian had too many suspicions. Qian Hui, do you have a spirit general called Xian under you? He seems to be Uncle Bing's comrade. Chia shook his head. I am not too sure about the specifics. I only know that the world of the Sacred Saint Galaxy is completely different from ours. Saints are very common there. Even Onyx Soul. Through her blurry eyes, there were two familiar figures in front of her. Big Brother Tian. I do not know much about the Sacred Saint Galaxy. What I know is that the inheritance of the 12 ecliptic palaces originated from the Sacred Saint Galaxy. The Sacred Saint Galaxy and Heaven's Road do not interfere with each other. Before the ancient times, there were 13 saints who accidentally entered a star door and entered Heaven's Road. At that time the constellations had not been formed yet, and the 12 saints were overjoyed. Each of them chose a place with the densest star power, combed the star power, revolved the stars, and the ancient 12 ecliptic palaces were formed, and this gradually formed the structure of the 12 ecliptic palaces. Chia explained. Chapter 552. I'll go too. Jing Hao's face turned green. He had feelings for the Honorable Martial Alliance, but he was still a Heaven's Road person. If what Tang Tian said was true, then the Honorable Martial Alliance's final goal was to destroy Heaven's Road, and he would definitely not let that happen. Bing told Sai Lei to pull Libra Constellation onto the pirate ship. Oh no, to pull them onto the war chariot. Everyone shuddered. The word saint, ever since it was born, had never been associated with the number 5,000. Everyone present could not imagine the army formed by 50 saints. How terrifying would that be? No one doubted Tang Chao's words. Could it be that this godlike young lad also had the potential to become an unscrupulous businessman? Oh my, wait till I return from the Sacred Saint Galaxy. I must definitely develop it properly. I wonder what request your side has? The experienced and prudent elder Shao secretly restrained the joy in his heart, and asked the question that everyone was most concerned about. Sai Lei's point of view was earth-shattering, causing all the elders to be dumbstruck. But thinking about it, Sai Lei's train of thought was not wrong at all. It was truly a huge profit. The elders of Libra Constellation's envoy group were all smiling, as though they had picked up a treasure. Sai Lei's move was too beautiful. Even if Libra Constellation knew it was a trap, they had no choice but to jump in. If he did not jump, naturally there would be others who would. The first to visit was the Libra Constellation's envoy group. Tang Tian brought Sai Lei. That asshole. Don't die, I still want to tie you up and bring you to my mother's grave. Who cares what Sacred Saint Galaxy he is, I will stab him to death. Ling Su snorted and added, so what if there are many saints? There are no saints that cannot be stabbed to death. By the side, Tang Tian was completely subdued by Sai Lei's spectacular performance. This lady did not even bat an eyelid when she lied to people. I never thought that outside of Heaven's Road, there would be such a mystical place. Crane said leisurely, just the description alone makes people yearn for it. Sai Lei's sudden big meat pie smashed all the elders of Libra Constellation into a daze. All of them understood the value of the research. Tang Tian subconsciously clenched his fists. Sai Lei's expression became solemn. Mechanical weapons have martial spirits, and thus we have our current mechanical spirit weapons. Then can the martial spirits of mechanical spirit weapons be upgraded to spirit domains? Do not offend Sai Lei. Ling Su's domineering words immediately gained everyone's approval. Tang Tian's mouth suddenly opened up. He thought of little Crane, little Su, Big Brother Jing Hao and everyone else. He was very lucky his brothers were not any worse off than Uncle Bing and the rest. All of their faces were filled with shock. The Sacred Saint Galaxy's matter was something that they had never heard of before. If what Tang Tian said was true, then Honorable Martial Group and Temple were existences that caused everyone's hair to stand on end. That's the gist of the situation. Tang Tian narrated the information he got from Qian Hui. Sai Lei's humble expression made everyone present excited. It was as if they were witnessing a brand new era slowly unfolding in front of them. Speaking of which, he was still the best. He had bought Sai Lei at such a cheap price back then. In the end, it was Sai Lei who had delivered herself to his doorstep while crying. Just like that, he had obtained a master engineer. For this idea we have invested a lot of energy. Sai Lei's beautiful face was deadly serious. She was completely lying. But no one would question it. She was now the #1 engineer grandmaster, and no one had a greater say than her in the field of mechanical techniques. Bing did not object and continued, the rest will be the same. Tang Chou commanded the army, completing the replenishment and upgrade of the army, and every army had to be equipped with saints. As for how many saints each army has, Chou, you have to calculate it and then study the tactics. Pai Pa and Han Tao will be in charge of the internal affairs. Dingman, don't stop with the Big Dipper plan. As for our strategy during this period of time, we won't take the initiative to provoke them, but there's no need for us to retreat. Our army is no longer weak. But our final enemy is the Honorable Martial Alliance. They are also the enemy of all the constellations, so we need to unite all of them. Libra constellation and our Ursa Major constellation have the same goal. To both parties, it is an extremely good foundation for cooperation. We are extremely willing to share our newest achievements in the field of mechanical techniques with the Libra constellation. Could it be that Grandmaster had a breakthrough? Elder Hua could not help but ask with a trembling voice. If Sai Lei's point of view was truly realized, it would definitely change the world. Thinking about that, Elder Shao immediately slapped the table. Good. Grandmaster has such lofty aspirations. Our Libra constellation will act as assistants, and follow Grandmaster to eat. We definitely have no objections. In Ursa Major constellation's most secret meeting room, Crane, Ling Su, Jing Hao, Pai Pa, Bell, Han Tao, Tang Chou, Sai Lei and the rest, the core members of Ursa Major constellation were all present. Everyone had a look of surprise on their faces. The banquet had just ended, and Tang Tian suddenly called for such a high-level meeting, causing everyone to feel that something was amiss. He said solemnly, if the Honorable Martial Alliance is trying to invade Heaven's Road, I will personally destroy it. Bing raised his hand, signaling for everyone to be quiet. Bing looked at Tang Tian. Tang Tian nodded his head without hesitation. All right, Big Brother Jing will join us. The Libra Constellation diplomatic group did not have any leeway to reject, although Sai Lei said that they could join anytime, but the group of old fellows were very clear that only Ursa Major constellation had the ability to research on the project, and there were many others who could provide saints. There were not many saints in Libra constellation in the 12 ecliptic palaces. So we have to go to the Sacred Saint Galaxy. Tang Tian said, only by going to the Sacred Saint Galaxy can we understand. Only then can we find a way to deal with the temple. In any constellation, saints were forever the most important power and resource. The more saints that joined, the closer Libra constellation would be to Ursa Major constellation. I want to go too. We wish to invite your side to participate in this research, and the final results will be shared by both of us. If the star door truly opened, I will go too. Tang Tian dared to confirm that Sai Lei would definitely squeeze Libra constellation dry. No matter how stupid Tang Tian was, he knew that Libra constellation had already been pulled onto Ursa Major constellation's pirate ship. Oh, wrong again, it's the war chariot. Sai Lei came up with such a plan. Uncle Bing was truly brimming with fighting spirit. No worries, I will go back first and plan properly. Uncle Bing's voice was still hoarse, his poker face revealed an indescribable fighting intent. He carried the ice coffin and carried it on his back without turning his head. Screw, let's go to the Sacred Saint Galaxy together. Xin, that bitch wants to stand us up. Let's beat him up together. The bronze star door's light aura gradually dimmed. The atmosphere was tense. Sai Lei's words immediately made all the clan elders smile. Ursa Major constellation's strong performance at the banquet made them extremely worried. If Ursa Major constellation was not willing to sell their mechanical techniques, they could not do anything about it. Even Onyx Soul did not dare to start a war with Ursa Major constellation, so Libra constellation did not even have the guts. Seeing Bing's disappearing figure, Tang Tian felt a lot of emotions. Today's scene had given him a huge shock. That was a true brother. Sacred Saint Galaxy. The fighting intent in Tang Tian's eyes soared. This young man was not afraid at all. Pinnacle. Saint. Elder Shao was completely stunned by Sai Lei's words. It was not only him, all the clan elders were shocked. Seeing the expressions of the clan elders, Tang Tian knew that Sai Lei's suggestion was something that Libra constellation was unable to reject. As long as one had some knowledge of mechanical techniques, they would understand the value of the proposal. If it was any other person who suggested it, they would be seen as a fool, but the one who suggested it was Sai Lei, the current #1 in mechanical techniques, and the proposal was extremely attractive. Request. Sai Lei chuckled. She was extremely flirtatious, causing all the clan elders to be stunned. She continued, "Let me first talk about my views on mechanical techniques. Now, everyone has already acknowledged the mechanical martial artists and similarly the mechanical armies, but they are all middle-level strength. Until now, not a single mechanical saint has appeared." Elder Xiao forced himself to calm down, his tone changing. "Why? What mechanical saint? Sai Lei and the rest have not even started." Sai Lei's expression became solemn. "Because of the saints, we have discovered in our research to transform the mechanical spirit weapon's martial spirit into a spirit domain, we need saints to participate. Our research requires a large number of saints to participate. Everyone knows that our Ursa Major constellation does not have many saints, and most of them have to be allocated to armies and the rest have their own missions. I have discussed with His Majesty, we feel that Libra constellation is a trustworthy partner, and this is a win-win cooperation. Of course, if your side has any doubts, it is fine. We can first find other constellations to cooperate with, and your side can look at the progress and then choose a suitable time to join in." The other clan elders were all smiles. Tang Tian was deep in thought. "Everyone can fight shoulder to shoulder. We can leave our backs to our opponents. We can die together." Tang Tian suddenly admired himself. And Sai Lei's excuse was very reasonable. "We do not have many saints. If we had many saints, it would not be your turn. If the sacred saint galaxy is truly filled with saints and temple has a backer behind them, then we will definitely not be able to stop them." Tang Chao's tone was extremely calm. "I have calculated when the number of saints exceeds 5,000, the war will be in a different state. We have no chance of winning. Such an army, no, we do not need an army, just a group of 5,000 saints. No one in Heaven's Road can stop them. If it was the tyrant of the Aquarius constellation, forget about the saints, they would even agree to the expenses. Ursa Major constellation needs to defend," he said solemnly. "If the Honorable Martial Alliance truly wants to occupy Heaven's Road, then they will definitely think of ways to stop us. Ursa Major constellation is our foundation, and they will definitely attack Ursa Major constellation. This time our main mission to the Sacred Saint Galaxy is to scout. We need to understand what is the Sacred Saint Galaxy like, what powerhouses there are, and who is the powerhouse behind temple. So the quality is more important than the quantity. Tang Tian, Ling Su and Crane will do." Under Uncle Bing's guidance, Tang Tian started to visit the various diplomatic groups. "There's a slight problem." Tang Tian looked at Uncle Bing, whose eyes were red, his poker face full of tears, and asked with concern, "Uncle, are you all right?"